Hello, everyone. We are starting in 4 minutes. We are starting very, very soon. So see you soon. We are starting in 3 minutes. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. Before we start, please share in the comments where are you from? What do you do? It will be really interesting to get to know each other a little bit before we start. Please share. So let me check the comments. Maybe someone already introduced themselves. It would be really interesting. Yeah, please share something about yourself in the comments. Where are you from? What do you do? And we are starting in 2 minutes. Okay, yeah, some people are excited. That's great. Thank you. So, yeah, we are starting very soon in 2 minutes. Yeah, please share something about yourself. It would be really interesting to learn more about you who is watching us right now. Yeah, and we'll start soon in 2 minutes. Wow, we have actually some comments. People from Brittany is discovering her talents in community and relationship management. Hi, that's amazing. Um, Whitley from Ohio. So nice to see you. Yeah, marketing coordinator. Great. Suzanne or Susan, I'm not sure, from Massachusetts. Nice. Thank you for joining us. Melanie from Ontario, Canada. Hi. She's working for an amazing company called Inventia Life Science. That's great. Nancy from Grafton, Massachusetts as well, I think. So many other people. So that's amazing. Thank you for joining us. And we are actually starting. So it's already the time to start. So I will stop music. So, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm Olga Bondareva. I'm a founder of ModumUp, social selling agency. And today we are starting our social selling conference on personal branding, employee advocacy, and lead generation on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. So, I'm really excited because we are going to do a lot of interesting things today, discuss great topics, and listen to such amazing and brilliant speakers. So let's do it. Let's do it. So a little bit about us, who organizes this conference. We are ModumUp, social selling and LinkedIn marketing agency, and we specialize in managing personal LinkedIn profiles, but for business goals like acquiring clients, partners, building HR brand, and other scenarios. So feel free to reach out, and we can discuss the potential project. So, what to expect today from our conference? Today, we are going to have 3 keynote sessions from me. The first one from Cynthia Barnes. LinkedIn Top Voice and TEDx speaker, and from Veronica Rivero from LinkedIn. And we'll have 2 panel discussions or discussion panels on personal branding on social media with really great speakers from Oracle, Capgemini, and Vodafone. And the second panel on psychological aspects of personal branding, with brilliant experts on these topics in psychology and neuroscience and neuromarketing. So I'm really excited, and I hope you also do. So the first session will be from me, and I'm Olga Bondarev. I'm a founder of ModumUp, social selling agency, and I used to work for Microsoft, where I was responsible for social media in Central and Eastern Europe region. And now I live in Texas, in Austin. So if you are in Austin as well, so I'm saying you hi. And yeah, let's go to my presentation. I will be talking about social selling as an approach, how it works for B2B companies and in general, because social selling is about personal profiles. But first of all, a little bit about myself. As I've mentioned, I'm a founder of the agency called ModumUp, and before that, I worked at Microsoft, was responsible for social media there, and there I first heard about social selling approach, and I've started implementing these techniques, and I've started teaching and training the customer-facing roles employees, and actually almost everyone in the company. I've tried to engage people who wanted to participate in that, to be active on social media and to build their personal brands on different platforms like LinkedIn and some other social media platforms. So that's why I'm excited about this topic, and I'm a fan of social selling, personal branding on social media, and social media in general for 6 years as an agency owner, and before that at Microsoft and other businesses. What is social selling? What is it? What are we talking about? It's about building expert social media profiles to develop actually new relationship, new connections with potential clients, partners, or employees. Or maybe even you can build your career, or you can do anything else with your LinkedIn profile and other social media profiles, because this is your social capital, and it's the huge and great investment in your future, and it's important to build one. Why social selling works? There are so many data about that, research, etc., and it shows that actually leads that came through employees' personal profiles, they convert much better comparing to other channels. And sales representatives who use LinkedIn and who use other social media platforms, they are much more effective than their peers. And in general, 92% of people, they trust recommendations from other people, even if they don't know them, over the brands. So it's just crazy how people trust people. And of course, it's important to be there, to be active on social media, and to build trust. Social selling is based on lead nurturing. So it's not about just you come to social media, you spam everyone, and you get leads, you get sales. It doesn't work this way. So it works a little bit more complicated. First, we connect on social media. We initiate the contact with people we are interested in, our potential clients, partners, or some other interesting people. Then we regularly post relevant content. We generate the demand. We show our expertise. We showcase our case studies, maybe, or something else. Then we start genuinely interacting with these potential clients, partners. For example, we put reactions under their posts, we comment on them, we do some other soft interactions like endorsing skills or something else. And then we jump to the conversation in personal messages. For example, we can do it in a soft way, like offer valuable content, invite people to the event, or you can come with a business proposal to them. It also can work if it's relevant, if it's personalized, so it can work really well. And of course, it's important to jump to some call to actions, like to continue the discussion. For example, to during the meeting or a call, or just agree to some other next steps. So it depends on you, on how it works for your business. But in general, yeah, it's important. And of course, the next step is follow-up activities. So we need to follow up on our audience, and we need to actually continue talking to them, continue working with them, even after the calls or even after first messages. And what kind of platforms we use for social selling? Of course, LinkedIn is our main platform. Actually, I've asked Midjourney, what if LinkedIn was a human? How would it look like? And it generated some really creepy pictures. I don't know why, but it did. So LinkedIn is the main platform for us because this is a business social media platform, and it really helps us actually achieve the results we expect. And for many projects, we also use WhatsApp. It's not a social media platform, it's a messenger, but still it works really well because it's very popular among, for example, in MENA region, in Latin America, and other countries. So WhatsApp works. And for some projects, we also use X, Twitter, meaning Twitter. For example, in the US and some other countries, where some audiences are very active on Twitter. So, but LinkedIn is our main platform for social selling. And how to start developing your profile to achieve your business and personal goals? Of course, we start with your positioning on social media and what kind of questions you need to answer. What do you want to achieve? Of course, it's important, like your goals. What are your business goals? Because you can have personal goals and your business goals. What's important to your target audience? Because you need to know their pains, their needs, something else about them to be relevant for your audiences. And what story do you want to tell? Because you need to have a holistic profile, holistic positioning, and to tell your own story on social media. And usually we use this role approach to develop your LinkedIn positioning, your social media positioning, and what kind of roles can you broadcast to your audiences. Of course, professional roles, because LinkedIn and the social selling approach in general is about business goals most of the time. And it's important to show your expertise, your positioning, and your career path. Maybe share some insights on teamwork and people management if you are the leader of the team, and maybe discuss some professional trends, some reports, some interesting research, or something else. As for personal roles, it's also really important to show your personality, because on LinkedIn and other social media platforms, we need to be humans after all. Otherwise, people won't trust us. It's important to show that you are a real person. So social roles, like you are a parent, you are a volunteer somewhere, you are a community member or a leader or someone else. Maybe you have some interesting hobbies, and you can show something like that. Or you can broadcast your values and share your personal stories. It really helps to build trust. And work-life balance, of course, you can also share some stories and topics on the intersection between professional and personal. It works really great on LinkedIn and other platforms because people really love just this format where you mix professional and personal. And when you decided that, okay, it will be my positioning on social media, you need to design your LinkedIn profile. It should be aligned with your positioning. So how to do it? First, we start with profile picture, cover photo, and headline. Your profile picture is great if it's smiling, open, positive, so people will trust you and they see that you're open to communication. You don't have such a very I don't know, strict strict look. So it's great. And your cover photo, your background photo can be actually different. It can show your company's logos, company's motto or something else, or it can be just an interesting picture showing your interests or maybe your area of expertise or something else. So be creative here, or just use the company's banner or some other interesting information. And your headline, it's important to include your position, your company, and some keywords. For example, people love your just to highlight their achievements, some regalia, maybe X companies if they used to work in some strong brands. So, and there may be professional interests, like, for example, I'm sharing that I'm an AI enthusiast because I really love AI and I explore it a lot. So, and actually, featured section is very important. It's so important, but it's often overlooked on LinkedIn. And when I analyze the profiles of new clients that come to us, I always notice that most of them, they miss this featured section. But it's really great opportunity to show your articles, videos, posts, and highlight your work, highlight your business in there. And it's a really great opportunity. Don't waste it, please. Just use a featured section to show something about yourself. And you usually make a statement in the headline and you prove it in the featured section with some additional materials, some additional information and content. And of course, you need to develop other section on your LinkedIn profile, but we don't have enough time to talk about all of it deeply. But just look at your work experience, at your skills and recommendations. Sometimes potential clients, they check these sections and they need to find some interesting information in there. So you've designed your profile. You already have your positioning. Of course, we need to create content on a regular basis. So our audiences will remember us and remember that we are experts in some topic. How often do you post on LinkedIn? Usually we recommend posting 1 to 3 times a week, because actually if you post every day on LinkedIn, usually the social selling index, we'll talk about this metric later, decreases. So yeah, this is what we've noticed. That's why we recommend posting 1 to 3 times a week, and people will remember you. And it's important just to use this systematic approach, because it will help people remember you and it will help build trust and loyalty among your target audiences. And of course, you can post really different content. And it's important to think about different stage of your content funnel. So just dedicate some content to awareness stage, talk about maybe yourself, post some expert content, professional posts, etc. So please also don't forget about the consideration stage. It's about your products or services, maybe some how-tos and case studies you can share with your clients and partners. And of course, the conversion stage. Here, you can even post your business proposals if you have some public proposals for your potential clients or partners, event invitations to some and other channels like the email newsletter or YouTube or something else, and some exclusive content you're just giving to people for some additional activity. So don't forget about different stages of the funnel. And what kind of posts perform well on LinkedIn? Of course, posts about challenges a person faces and how they overcome them. So it's about, because when we are talking about only success, it's Just people are tired of it. They are interested in challenges, in failures. So it's okay to share this information, to be sincere on LinkedIn and other social media. But of course, it's important also to share how you overcome them and how you solve your problems. Because if it's just about problems, not about solutions, it's not so productive. Of course, entertainment content works, like jokes and memes. Yeah, it's really funny, and people love it. Even on professional social media platforms, posts with influencer tags. Of course, if you're not doing like a spammy tags of everyone you know, but if it makes a lot of sense in this kind of posts, it works. And of course, the post where you show that you're responsive and ready to help. For example, offering some free consultations for people who experienced layoffs, something like that. More content trends. You can see a cat in here. Of course, you can post cats as well, but I will talk about some other trends like expert videos. They really catch attention, and you probably noticed that now LinkedIn has a separate news feed for vertical videos, for short videos like reels on Instagram or shorts on YouTube. They also do have video feed now. So it's really important to think about it and to start recording and posting videos on LinkedIn. Storytelling engage your audience. Of course, usually people love stories. And if you mix professional and personal content in your stories, it's great. Also, it's important to actually, also I've already mentioned it, to mix professional and personal. It builds trust, and people feel that they are related to your story. They love it. So polls also engage your audiences because people love answering questions, especially when they don't need to do anything, or just click once and that's it. So polls work, and you can use them for lead generation as well. We'll talk about it a little bit later. So what makes content on LinkedIn, on your personal profile, successful? Of course, it's important to start. How do you start your content? Intriguing post introduction or hook can work. Personal photos, of course, if it fits the post logically, because some people, they just put their personal photos everywhere. Sometimes it doesn't seem logical. Also engaging and simple language, of course, because on social media, people don't want really difficult language. They want to, I don't know, to just to have it easy to read. So situational agenda, it's not always necessary, but it really works when it's somehow connected with something happening in the world. Storytelling, of course, we already discussed it. People love stories. Usefulness and value to the audience. Of course, if your audiences feel value, it's important to them to read your content, maybe to watch your videos, because they can even save it somewhere and share with their colleagues because it's really valuable. Lifestyle and work-life balance content, of course, it also makes sense because you build trust this way, but it's not always necessary. It depends on whether it's comfortable for you or not. And of course, structured formats, it means that you can structure your posts by different paragraphs or even points, so to make it easy to read again. And you create content on a regular basis. And of course, you want people to see it. You want more relevant people to watch your videos, to read your posts. So it's so important to grow your audiences. And you can not, of course, you connect with potential clients and potential partners, but also think about your friends and colleagues, about engagers who can support your content. Think about some influencers and event organizers. Maybe you will generate some speaking opportunities or just more views on your comments on your posts. And co-pilots, meaning some partners from the similar area, similar maybe businesses that can support each other, and you can exchange clients and maybe do something together, organize some events or something else. You can make it up together, figure it out what to do. So it makes sense to connect not only with clients but with other people as well. How to connect on social media, what to do. So you can use just standard LinkedIn search, or if you have a LinkedIn Sales Navigator subscription, I also recommend using it. I really love it. And we use it in every project with every client because it helps us to find really narrow audiences. Of course, industry groups and events can help you find some relevant audiences. Influencers active audience if it's relevant to you, and LinkedIn recommendations. Actually, if you've never grown your audience, never sent any connection requests to people you don't know, start with LinkedIn recommendations. It will be the easiest step to start. But then, of course, use the search. And when you already have your great profile with regular content and you're growing your audiences, of course, it's important to build relationships with them. And how to do it? We actually can do it using some networking mechanics and comments and messages and some other tactics. It's really important that just don't simply like their content, just leave some comments. It's great to dedicate about like 15 minutes a day, maybe not every day, maybe twice a week, for effective networking, to comment on people's posts. And what kind of posts you can comment on? Like professional achievements, expert posts, personal posts, of course, excluding some risky topics like politics, religion, or some other sensitive topics. You can congratulate your audiences on their birthdays, because LinkedIn usually shows who has birthdays today, and it's great to build trust this way. Congratulate on their achievements and even holidays. And one more step, you can endorse their skills. Of course, you probably didn't work with them, and it's quite maybe feels weird to endorse their skills, but it works. You can start conversations with them this way. So what else is important to do? Of course, tag people in your posts, but when it's relevant, don't be a spammer in tagging. And it really works great because they can come to you in the comments and increase the number of views of your posts. Also, you can use some icebreakers in networking messages. And in our experience, it helps to double response rate. So it's crazy. You can just increase the reply rates on your messages 2 times just using icebreakers. What kind of icebreakers you can use? Humor and self-irony. Maybe you can find some common ground like education, hometown, favorite band or movie or something else. You can send some short videos or audio messages to your audiences. You can send some greetings for national holidays, or use some local languages if you are connecting with people from different locations with different language and culture. And of course, you can personalize the content based on their posts, but of course, it's a lot of work. And lead generation, the last step is lead generation. Of course, we want new clients. Everyone wants to generate some leads from social media. And of course, be very careful not to become a really a real spammer everyone hates. But we have different lead generation mechanics like exclusive content that drives conversions, selling messages, LinkedIn live events, polls, networking messages. And you know why I highlighted messages? Because messages work the best. Messages is the best channel where the magic happens, and it's important to talk to people, to connect with them via messages. And before I jump to some interesting case studies on lead generation, I would like to share some definitions. What we mean here: connection is our profile connection, our friends on LinkedIn. Interest, it means that a person shows their interest in your product and service and asks some additional information and shares their email. And lead is a target audience representatives who show their interest and they are ready to have a call or meeting with you to discuss it. So, and this call or meeting actually happened. And a little bit of case studies. So the first case study of our agency is that we work with HR tech platform for 10 months already, with HR directors as a target audience from various industries. And here we actually attracted many connections, like almost 5,000 connections, 800 interested people, and 39 leads and 16 deals with large companies. And of course, we've built expert personal brand that HR audience trusts. So this is how social media can work. And the second case study is with fast delivery services. Actually, it's a 9-month project for retail and e-commerce, and there we've attracted 3,000 new connections and attracted about 240 interested target audience representatives and almost 200 leads that were interested in partnering with this fast delivery services company. And at Tech Platform, actually, it's a 9-month project and it's continuing right now for marketing audiences. And there we've already grown the audience of 4,000 connections and have many interested target audience representatives, almost 200 interested representatives, and 39 leads. And of course, expert personal brands, very bright one, and some viral posts with 50K plus views. And the last case study for today is about a cloud service provider. Here we also have actually similar result, that we have 58 leads and almost 300 interested target audience representatives and quite many new connections. And of course, bright and sincere personal brand that tech audiences trust. So after you do all of these different activities on LinkedIn, you need to analyze the results. And one of the metric you can use is social selling index. This is an integral metric. Actually, it has 4 scales, for different scales. So you can check how active you use the platform. But it's not the business metric. It's just the metric that identifies how you use LinkedIn. And we have some business-related metrics, like some outbound and inbound metrics. Outbound metrics are connection rate, how people approve your connection requests, response rate, how they reply, interest rate, how they become interested and share their contacts, and conversion rate, how they are ready to, for example, to have a call or meeting with you. And some inbound metrics as well, like engagement rates, view rates on your posts, profile visits, and of course, social selling index is a part of it. And my recommendations for a successful social selling project is narrow your specialization, create expert and personal content, build your network, and focus on long-term relationships and delayed sales. It's more important than spamming everyone. Just build relationships. It makes a lot of sense. So who are we? We are ModumUp social selling agency. I already talked about us, and we exist for 6 years, and we're a team of 30, a little bit more than 30 professionals in social selling and LinkedIn marketing. So yeah, you can check out case studies by the link. I will share all the slides and you will have the recording to look at it. So, and this is my contact. I'm Olga Bondareva, and this is my LinkedIn QR code. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, please just feel free to reach out via LinkedIn or email. So my email is olga@modumup.com. So let's move to the next speakers, to the next presentations. I would like to introduce our next speaker. Our next speaker is Cynthia Barnes. Cynthia is LinkedIn top voice, real LinkedIn top voice with a blue badge, TEDx speaker, and host of Unstoppable with Cynthia Barnes, and many, many more. So just meet Cynthia Barnes. Hi, Cynthia.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. I hope it's okay with everyone if I don't have a presentation. I'd like to just talk to you about what it's really like to be an influencer, a LinkedIn influencer, and what it takes to get there. Is that okay? If that's okay, I'm watching the comments. So go ahead and put in the comments that it's okay. Give me a thumbs up or a heart. I see some hearts going on. Christopher, thank you. Dr. Jimmy from Kenya, hello. Thank you for that. So, the first question that people ask me is, what sparked your journey to become a LinkedIn and sales influencer? And the first thing I have to say is necessity is the mother of invention. You've heard that before. I used to work for a company and I was making 200 ish cold calls a day. It was more of a smile and dial type of thing. Pick up the phone, get hung up on, put it down. And one day I said, there's got to be a better way to make money than this. I love sales, have been in sales forever, been selling everything from high end skincare to recruiting. And I even sold hair pieces at Hair Club for Men. So I've sold it all. But in this last role, I wasn't used to the constant smile and dial. So I got creative and I said, how can I use my time more efficiently? And LinkedIn had just started on the scene, and people were using LinkedIn for resumes. You post your resume, you get a job, case closed, you don't go back on LinkedIn till you need another job. But I thought, what if there was a way to connect with my target audience, engage with them, develop a relationship, and then convert them? So I sought out some experts, Crystal Artsobak, and I became LinkedIn for Sales Black Belt certified. Yes, there is such a thing, or at least there was. And I learned how to develop relationships using LinkedIn. And I went from 200 ish calls a day down to about 9. But yet, my weekly revenue went from about $1,000 a week up to around 12. So my boss called me into the office and he said, you are not making enough phone calls. You're a leader on this team. People are watching what you're doing. You're setting a bad precedent. And I said, okay, but have you seen my numbers? And so he opens up his computer and he's looking at his numbers and he said, what are you doing? Now, salespeople are competitive. I'm not even going to lie. And I said, I'm working smarter, not harder. I tell you that story because it was then that I realized LinkedIn was an untapped territory. So when I left corporate America and started my own company, cashed out my 401k, and had $0 to play with, it was all about making every dollar work. I went back to what I learned in that corporate job. LinkedIn is not a place for ROI, the return on the investment. LinkedIn is a place for ROR. It's all about your return on your relationships. When we go into LinkedIn thinking that it's going to be a place for social selling, we have the the misguided belief that we're going to sell something. And I think that's a misstep. We're not selling anything. We're developing a relationship and drawing people to us. Anything else, and we're no better than the used car salesman with the mustard on his tie. So that's how I got started becoming a LinkedIn influencer, was out of necessity. I wanted to create a brand so powerful that people were forced to come to me to get what they needed so that I didn't have to go out and chase them. Because as my cousin Tracy says, in this family, we don't chase anyone or anything. We don't even chase our whiskey. So don't chase, it's unattractive. Second question I'm always asked: what key challenges did I face along the way? There are experts for experts for experts for experts. And I made the mistake of listening to every single one of them. And I tried everything under the sun. And following all of that expert advice got me confused and disappointed. What I realized was that the most important thing was to develop my brand with granularity and specificity, my two favorite words, about who I wanted to do business with, who I was trying to attract, and create my messaging around that. There's a formula in marketing that is M times M equals R. And if you go way, way back to ninth grade algebra, I know they said you would never need it, but here we are. Anything in an algebraic equation set to zero means the whole thing is zero, right? So in M times M equals R, if any of those, the M, or the R, is zero, your whole thing is bust. The first M is your message. What is it that you say to your target audience to get them to stop the scroll? They are inundated with notifications, with Snapchat, TikTok, LinkedIn, every platform under the sun, email, boss, all that good stuff. You've got to create content that makes them stop the scroll. You've also got to put that message in a place where they expect to do business with you. You can have the best message in the world, but if you put it on a billboard, it's not going to resonate. It's not going to land. Same thing goes with your target audience. If you're trying to reach B2B people and you put it on TikTok, it may or may not hit the right spot because they're not expecting you to do business with them in a B2B sense, in a B2B market on TikTok. So your message times your media, that's what gets you the results. If you have the wrong message in the right spot, nothing. And the same goes for the reverse. So my messaging is designed to do two things. Number one, attract my right audience. That's it. I want my people to come to me. Again, I'm attracting, not attacking. Second thing I want my message to do is I want it to repel the wrong folks. If you don't like what I'm saying, good. I don't have anyone on my LinkedIn connections or followers who does not rock with me. And that's intentional. As they say in the songs, I want to rock with those who rock with me. If you don't like my content, that's okay. It's not for you. I write my content for those who want to rock with me. And that's intentional. Is it easy? No, because there are plenty of trolls out there. There are plenty of people who love to hide behind their screen and spew their venom. You know them. Hopefully you are not them. But that's okay. I don't create my content for them. I create it for those who want what I have. So the key challenges that I faced were finding my voice and making sure that I was solid and confident enough to say what I had to say. Specific steps and strategies. People are going to tell you all night and day to follow the algorithm, to do this, to do that. The algorithm is going to change like the wind. LinkedIn changes its algorithm because it's doing what LinkedIn needs it to do, because it's LinkedIn. They're serving themselves, which is what they're supposed to do, and their shareholders. I post on LinkedIn nearly every day because the algorithm changes and I don't want to have to worry about what the algorithm's doing or what it's not doing, whether it's boosting videos or polls this week or whatever. I do my content based upon what I need to do and the audience I'm trying to attract. When I post every day, I don't have to worry about what the computers are doing. I maintain an 8 to 9% engagement rate because I want to make sure that my audience is picking up what I'm putting down. Truth be told, likes, comments, shares, they don't pay bills. My engagement is my true indicator of whether or not my audience likes my content, because I can take a post that has 50,000 impressions, 1,200 reactions, 55 shares, and that's pretty much a good indicator that my audience likes what I'm doing. Further example of that is I can now reach out to all of those people who engaged, and I can send them a quick note to say thank you for engaging with my post. If you'd like to continue the conversation around this, let's hop on a virtual latte. You see what I mean about not the ROI of LinkedIn, but the return on the relationship? I don't try to sell them anything. I want to continue the conversation. I want to get to know people because that's how relationships are built. If it so comes that we have mutual interests and we can further each other's business, that's great. And 9 times out of 10, down the road, that's what happens. But I don't go after an opportunity looking to gain. I go after posting content on LinkedIn looking to serve. Which brings me to my next question. What advice would I give to you if you were just starting out? Find your voice. Find out your unique value proposition. What is it that makes you so incredibly unique? No one else can say that about themselves. For me, it's being a Black woman in sales at the top of the sales game, being an influencer in an industry where hardly anyone looks like me. Some people say that is a negative. I say that's a unique value proposition, and I'm going to use that to my advantage. And I did, and I do. Because when people want a speaker for their sales conference, they want diversity. They want someone who doesn't look like everybody else. They want a message that doesn't sound like everybody else's. And I'm guaranteeing that if you're on this call right now, I am pretty much unlike anyone you have ever heard. Pretty much. So find your unique value. It's in there. Find your voice and then speak it loudly and speak it proudly. How are we doing on time? All right. Are there any comments or any questions in the chat? Let's see. All right. Alexander, Serena, thank you. Thank you. Dr. Jimmy, thank you. Hey, Christina, thank you. Vineet, thank you very much. I want to tell you a story about the value of attracting and not attacking. So imagine you are on a safari. You're in Africa. They have tour guides, and they each divvy you up into 4 different Jeeps. There's a group of you in the Jeep going to the northwest quadrant. There's a group of you going to the northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest. You've all got walkie-talkies, and you're talking to each other, and you disperse. About 2 hours into the safari, someone calls out and said, hey, we've got a herd of zebras in the northeast quadrant of the desert. So everybody from the other 3 quadrants hightails it over to the northeast quadrant, but by the time they get there, the zebra are gone. They go back to their respective quadrants. A couple hours later, someone from the southwest quadrant calls, we've got a herd of antelope. Everybody hightails it down to the southwest quadrant. Antelope are gone by the time they get there. You see the pattern where you see where I'm going. Okay. So that night, after going all over the countryside, all over the safari, all over the desert, you sit down for this nice meal. There's an electric fence around the tables. The sun is setting, and you look over your tour guide's shoulder as the sun is setting, and you see movement. And you tap him on his shoulder and you say, "Hey, did you see that?" And he says, "What?" "I could have sworn I saw a zebra over there." And he's just eating a salad as if nothing's happening. And he said, "Yeah, probably." And you are in disbelief. So you go back to your salad, and then you notice more movement. And you think, "Is that an elephant?" And you're tapping his shoulder, "Hey, that's an elephant." And he says, "Yeah." And you said, why are we not excited?" And he says, "Oh, that's a watering hole over there. It's the only watering hole for miles. The animals have no choice but to come there to get water." It dawns on you, you spent the entire day in the baking sun traveling all over trying to get pictures of these jokers, and they're right there. The moral of the story is be the water. Be someone so valuable that your audience has no choice but to come to you. Be the water. You will attract more business than you can possibly handle. And that is my wish for you, to have so much business that you have to outsource, that you have to call people and say, "I've got to start an LLC because I can't handle all these requests." I wish that for you. LinkedIn is the best way for you to achieve that. If you're courageous enough to speak your truth, speak your brand, be willing to be consistent, be willing to repel the wrong audience, and be willing to work really hard. I thank you for your time. Any questions you want me to answer? Let's see.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. We actually have a question about the methods you use to discover your unique voice. It would be really interesting to learn more about that.
Yes. The methods I use to develop my unique voice, I thought about who I wanted to be when I was 10. I thought about who did that 10-year-old little girl growing up in Greentown, Indiana, where there were no blacks and there were no one who looked like me. Who did I need her to be? And then I thought about the other women who looked like me, the other young women. Who did they need me to be? And then I thought about who do I need to be? And I wrote that down. And then I did another exercise where I looked at my values. And it's real easy to say, here are my values. I picked this and this. Well, first of all, when you can only pick two, it makes it a lot more challenging. Second of all, if you say, I may not know what happiness is, but I know that I'm never sad when I am fill in the blank. I may not know what happiness is, but I know I am never sad when I am fill in the blank. And so I did a brain dump and I talked and I recorded the whole thing. And then I put it into ChatGPT. And I told ChatGPT, I said, analyze this conversation. Act as a life coach and an experienced psychologist with 20 years experience and tell me what two values are most important to me. And it did. Once I had those values pinpointed, once I took all of that information, I was then able to say, you know what? That is the legacy I want to leave. That aligns with my values, my wants, and my needs. When I govern myself according to what my values, my wants, and my needs are in everything, friendships, relationships, jobs, opportunities. When I align myself and opportunities to my values, wants, and needs, I never go wrong. When I value and align my values with my content, I can never go wrong. People may not like it. That's okay. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me. And if you want to rock with me, let's go.
Thank you so much. That's so nice. Yeah, we have a lot of nice comments in there. People love your presentation. Yeah, love your story, and I have actually many questions to you, if I may.
Okay. Mhm.
My first question is about, could you please tell us more about how you started developing your personal brand? Because it's a step, right? When you take it first and you do it. How you started?
Someone once told me, Cynthia, people believe the story you tell them. And I said, huh, well then, let me create and step into what I want people to know about me. Everything is 100% true, and it's what I want people to know. There are parts of me that I want to keep right here because they're private to me and they're special to me. And there are parts of me that I will never put out to the world because that's just not my comfort level. But my brand was created based upon the person I want to be. There is nothing wrong with reinvention. All of our experiences through life have led us to this point. And there's no period at the end of the sentence. You can put a period there if you want to. You can put a semicolon too. You can create the brand you wish to step into. I'm not saying fake it till you make it. There's no fake about it. There is, however, creating the life you want, creating a life worth loving, and then stepping into it and then governing yourself accordingly. You want to be on the beach sipping Mai Tais? Well, then what does it take to get there? It's creating that, then working your way toward it. If I constantly post things about what my life is day to day, number one, it will be boring as heck. And number two, people are going to say, wow, she's not very aspirational. I don't want to be like her. But if I tell you about the hopes and dreams I have for a future where women and men can walk into a job and not be judged by the color of their skin or the gender they're assigned at birth, maybe you'll want to rock with me on that and we can do it together. You see the difference? You don't want to hear about the woe is me and all of the bad stuff. You want to hear about where we're going. So that's what I post about. That's what my brand is about. Inspiring, educational, and a little bit of fun.
Thank you so much. And we have one more question about your that you've built a bright corporate career and why you decided to move to your private business. So,
Ooh,
let's ask.
I have expensive taste, period. And I realized that a company is only going to pay you what they think you are worth. That's it. I want to earn what I know I'm worth. I am on a mission to spark a global movement where women and girls own their awesome and are not afraid to shout it from the rooftops. If I work for someone else, that mission and that movement stops with me. When I work for myself, the sky is the limit. They print new money every day. They throw away and destroy more money every day than you and I will possibly see in our lifetimes. And I think because they print so much every day, that we are entitled to get our share. And I'm not talking about greed. I'm talking about helping people. The more money you have, the more people you can help, because a closed fist can't receive. You've got to give it away to get more. And that's what I'm talking about is the law of attraction, giving to get. And that's what excites me. That's what excites me.
Thank you so much. And actually, we have a question from Christina.
Hey,
She is
Christina.
yeah, she's about to launch a marketing research about account-based marketing and something else. Yeah. And
Congratulations.
she has a biggest fear that nobody wants to participate. And you, as a person who already launched a lot of great projects, maybe you can give some advice how to what to do with this fear, how to still keep going.
I am so glad that you are fearful, because if you weren't, then the dream is not big enough. There is a saying that has stuck with me for decades. If the fear is big enough, the facts don't count. Let me stop. It's not the fear is big enough. If the dream is big enough, the facts don't count. When your dream wakes you up in the morning and you say, I get to go work on my dream, then you know it's a dream worth having. When you can close your eyes and you can picture yourself working in your dream and impacting people and leaving a legacy, and you get goosebumps like I just did, because you know that you are changing the world for the better, that's a dream worth living. That's a life worth living. That's a life worth loving. Don't be afraid about people not liking what you do. You're not trying to get everybody. You're trying to get those select people who rock with you. I don't want to do business with everybody. Everybody is not my target market. And that's okay. I want to do business with people I like. And that's the beauty, another one of the beauties of owning your own business. I get to tell people, while I would love to work with you, I think it would be best if we found someone else who can suit your needs better. I get to say no, because my peace of mind and my energy and my time are my three most valuable assets. I protect them at all costs. So I'm glad you're fearful. Turn that fear into fuel and let it propel you and let it get you out of your comfort zone, and watch how amazing you are going to be. And you will surprise yourself every single day. I can't wait.
Wow, you inspired all of us so much. Thank you so much, Cynthia. It's really great. Yeah. So if you have something to add at the end, yeah, we would appreciate it. And
Yes, please connect with me on LinkedIn. Cynthia Barnes, you'll see my picture. Yeah, please do. I would love to develop a relationship and see how I can help, see what type of synergies are out there. Maybe we can solve the world problems today over a latte. Maybe not. Either way, there's no such thing as a bad connection. So please do connect with me.
oh, sounds so amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. We're
Thank
all
you.
really impressed. Thank you. Yeah. So let's jump to just a second to the next presentations we do have. Actually, before that, we have a small bonus for everyone. So this is our fourth conference, social selling conference, and we organize it every year. And if you'd like to maybe learn more about the previous conferences, about just watch some recordings of the previous presentations, because we had also really great, amazing experts, speakers. So you can find them on our YouTube channel by the links. So you can use QR codes. And of course, we'll send the follow-up after the conference. You will find them if you are interested in actually watching them. So, and our next keynote session is with Veronica Rivera from LinkedIn. She's a LinkedIn account executive with a great experience in the corporate world. And Veronica will tell us a little bit more about how sales and marketing can work together with LinkedIn and LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and probably with some AI features even. So, Veronica, hi. Hi.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Great. Thank you for coming to us. So, yeah, the floor is yours, please.
Great. No, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Veronica Rivero. I'm based in Chicago, Illinois. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Lima, Peru. I studied business at the University of Notre Dame, not too far from here, and have 15 years of global sales and marketing experience, working anywhere from small startups to global organizations like NBC Universal, Verizon Media, and the National Basketball Association. I'm a big sports fan, so my dad was really proud of that one. Most recently, I'm at LinkedIn, the sales solutions team, where I help small and mid-market clients use LinkedIn and Sales Navigator and all the new and great advanced AI features to drive profitable growth. So there are three things I want you to get out of today. If you remember anything that I said, these are the three key things. One, how to streamline sales and marketing via social selling. Two, how to find, engage, and elevate the conversation with the people that matter at your target companies or organizations. And three, where to get started with AI, right? If you're a seller or marketing, or you're starting your own business, right? Keeping in mind that AI is only as good as the data that fuels it and the people that use it. So let's get started. And please put any questions in the chat while I go through the presentation. I would love to hear from you. So, what's going on in sales and marketing and social selling these days? Well, I have conversations with sales, marketing, rev ops leaders basically every day, and what I hear is that every business today, no matter how big or small you are, is seeking profitable growth. Every sales and marketing team, we all need to be better today than we were yesterday. We need to do more with less. In this era of financially responsible growth, businesses are operating with tight margins, right? While still expecting a lot from us. This puts a lot of pressure not only on the leadership, but also on us sales and marketing professionals, right? As we navigate something that we've seen a lot, not just internally, but everywhere I've been working on. Declining win rates, high churn of current customers, and then high expectations from Gen AI, right? So anyone experiencing any of those three, you can put a comment in the chat, because I know every professional I talk to these days is experiencing one or the other, and they're wondering, right? So what do we do? What do we focus on this sea of sameness, right? There's a lot of information out there. But there's something that is key and top of mind for everyone. And your number one focus should be getting enough high quality conversations with the people that matter are your target organization. Whether you're starting your own business, right, and you're looking for clients, whether you work at a large or global organization or a startup, you need to focus, whether you focus on getting new business or expanding existing customers, this is still the one truth, right? When it comes to B2B sales, that remains constant, and the best sales and marketing people I've worked with or that I've talked to on my day to day, have figured out how to do this. But some leaders, have still struggled, to scale. There are certain behaviors that top sellers and marketers have that they expose that they need to, scale across their organization to be successful these days. Well, if you're not familiar with LinkedIn, I'm assuming you are because you're all in here today. We do have three lines of businesses. So there's one that is talent solutions, which I'm sure anyone here has applied for a job on LinkedIn. I got my job on LinkedIn through LinkedIn. So that's talent solutions, recruiter, etc. Then we also have marketing solutions, which are the ads that you may see on the platform, right? Like come work for us, or have you read this white paper, etc. And then last but not least, is LinkedIn for Sales, which is our tool Sales Navigator, which is basically focused on sales and marketing. There's a lot of information out there. We cut all the noise and we only focus on, the companies and the people within those companies that you care about. um, I have personally used a revenue intelligence tool, Sales Navigator, for over 10 years at all those companies that I mentioned at the beginning. And I wouldn't have been able to be, part of President's Club or successful in my sales career without it. And that was the number one reason I wanted to join this line of business at LinkedIn. Not only because I love the tool and have been a customer of it, but also because I truly believe in the power of this tool. And I wouldn't work, to be completely honest, for any organization that doesn't have Sales Navigator in their tech stack. Why is that? Well, number one, the cutting edge technology, right? Just keep in mind that Gen AI is only as good as the data that fuels it, right? And LinkedIn powered by Microsoft, which is trusted data. Also first party data, right? Like you all update your LinkedIn profile, right? Based on what you want to show to the world. We don't make you say or do anything that you don't want to, So that's really important because it's a trustworthy network that unlocks just basically the largest professional network out there, right? We're at like over 1 billion people. But I know there's a lot of information that's just only on LinkedIn. But why Sales Navigator, and what are the key differences, right? Well, number one, like I said, I like to use this analogy of if people here have, I don't know if you have an Apple or a Droid, but you'll have either Apple News or Droid News right in your phone. You can either see everything that's out there, or you can follow, right, the for example, I follow the Wall Street Journal, ESPN for my sports, et cetera, et cetera. So I only focus on those, outlets that I care about and the people within there. The same thing for Sales Navigator. It's really a revenue intelligence tool, that helps you scale those top behaviors of top sellers, which are three. And you'll see if you get to know me, I really love acronyms, and that's a way for me to remember things and also be more succinct when I try to explain or clarify something. So what are those three behaviors of top sellers? Fee, F-E-E. One, we all have to find the right people at our target companies, right? Whether it is a new client, again, if you're starting your business, whether it's the CRO, CEO, CMO at a target or global organization that you're trying to close, or expanding your connections within a current customer that you want to expand to different lines of businesses. You have to find the right people in order to be successful. 2, E, engage. You have to engage with them effectively by using key signals to be relevant. I know there's a lot of conversation out there, like, should I personalize everything? Should I reach out, spray and pray, as they say, send them 100 emails or emails, etc. Well, the main thing that is important to keep in mind is it's not about quantity over quality or being personalized. It's about being relevant, and with LinkedIn Navigator, you can use the key signals and also leverage your relationship capital, right? Those connections, those people that might be within your company or extended network to be relevant and engage, because sometimes you only get one shot, right, at that first meeting or call or first impressions. So you need to engage effectively and be relevant. And then last but not least, once you finally get that meeting, right, and have the opportunity to meet with that person that you've been wanting to meet, you need to elevate every single conversation by showing up prepared, right? And I know that may sound exhausting in today's date where we all have back-to-back meetings, right? Going from one to another, and there's no breaks or et cetera. Well, this is when the beauty of Gen AI comes into play. Gen AI is not, my personal thoughts is that they're not here to replace you. It's more as an aid. Think of it as an assistant that will help you elevate that conversation. So, for example, I've used ChatGPT to prepare for conversations. I would enter prompts like, what does this company do? Who are their target buyers? And who are their top customers? Tell me any challenges that are in the news. But now I also have, at Sales Navigator, we have a tool called Account IQ, which does something similar, but also goes a step farther and reads the 10Ks for the company. Gathers not only all the news that may be, online, but also all the activity that's on LinkedIn, right? If their people are being very active on the platform, if there's some news, if they're hiring or reducing any headcount in different departments, we take all that information into consideration and give you, their top priorities, challenges, what are they looking for, what are they focused on, so that you can only spend 10 minutes reading that summary and come prepared to elevate that conversation, right? Show up as a trusted advisor, because no one likes to be sold, right? People buy from people they like, but also if they are relevant to their business, to their function, and what they're doing. So definitely, use Gen AI. I've used many different versions and tools. Of course, working at LinkedIn, being powered by Microsoft and OpenAI. Our tools are only as good as the data that fuels it. And the data from Microsoft and OpenAI is definitely very powerful and trusted. And it has helped me save at least 30 minutes a day, if not more, in not only saving time and coming prepared, but also doing that research quickly and having sources that I can trust, right? Whether it's the company's 10K or other information, the sources are listed there. So you don't have to worry about outdated information or it's not up to date or coming up with a stat, right, from 5 years ago when we're in 2024. So things like that are key. And the world's moving so fast. So we need to keep that in mind and be thoughtful and relevant in everything that we do. So the beauty of sales and LinkedIn for Sales or Sales Navigator is that also, I've worked at many different organizations and I've used so many tools in my tech stack, from Outreach, SalesLoft, Apollo, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, LinkedIn.com, you name it, and I'm always happy. And I like showing up as a trusted advisor to my clients, because people like to buy from people they trust as well. And I usually like, if I can give you any advice on how to show up as a trusted advisor, is I always start with maybe the shortfallings from whatever you're offering. So for example, for LinkedIn Sales Navigator, if you're looking for emails and phone numbers, we're not the tool for you. LinkedIn doesn't make members, we don't sell your emails or phone numbers. If you want to keep your profile open and have those available, that's great. But if you don't, we don't make you, we don't sell that. And why do we do that? Because we're basically your go-to-market tool, how to help you streamline, sales and marketing, so that we can stop that I like to call the ping pong game, right? And for those of you that have worked, together with sales and marketing or either or role, we're all trying to get more high quality leads, right? But this ping pong game of, marketing, and I'm not here to blame anyone, I'm just using examples, but I like to call it ping pong game because we all hear, like, if you're in sales, well, marketing is not getting us enough qualified leads, they're not sharing relevant content. Then sales like, well, then marketing is like, well, sales is not calling those leads, right? So it's kind of like back and forth, versus we need to be unified, right? How do we do that? With social selling, and we're all following the right signals, right? That to make sure that we're working together towards that same goal, which is, shortening those sales cycles, using that relationship capital, whether it is from your marketing team, your sales team, your entire company, your past customers, your past colleagues, to make sure that you get those key alerts, right? There's key alerts out there that to help you find what is the best path into my target company, to the people that I want to talk to. AI can do so much, but it will not replace you. It will help you get the conversation started, get some ideas, right? And also assist. Think of it as your assistant next to you that will help you just be more efficient, right? Whether it is helping you draft personalized messaging using, Gen AI as a starting point. That's something that Navigator can do by gathering all the posts. Let's say you're looking to talk to someone at your target company, and you can see if they post on LinkedIn, if they follow certain companies or influencers. So we gather all that intel instead of you having to do hours of research, and we elevate the conversation by telling you, hey, did you see Veronica used to work at the MBA? I saw that you're connected to this person that's now at my target company. Would you mind making an introduction, right? Or we highlight the key points so that you can be relevant and have a better conversation. We provide you summaries of qualified leads and companies, and also saving you hours of prep time. And I think one of my favorite parts is also integrating with your CRM or your tech stack, right? Like we all have. Sometimes I feel like sometimes when I work at startups, I get access to more tools than when I work at a global organization. And why is that? Because of course startups want to test and try fast, fail faster, and but sometimes it's a little bit too much, right? So identifying what those tools are, but also making sure they all talk to each other. They're all, again, just going back to my point of being the data being as good as the foundation of it, of the data that fuels it. It's really important that we all work together, not only internally in our different roles, but also that our tech stack talks to each other so that we can save a lot of time, you know. And we all, if I can leave you with a good message here, we all have the same hours in the day. It doesn't matter if you're just starting your career or at a high level executive, we all have the same hours in the day. And being intentional, but also helping you prioritize your time and efforts with the right context, right? And the right people that are showing some buying signals, whether it is they're clicking on your LinkedIn profile, they're clicking on your ads, they're doing the research. We have so many different signals that can help you narrow down, right, your total addressable market to those people that are actually ready to engage with you, ready to have a high quality conversation, right, with you, and they're interested in the products and services that you have to offer, you know? And how do you do that? Again, just going back to the fee, right? FEE. You need to find the right people. There you can, again, we like to call spray and pray, send the same message to 1,000 people and hope like handful of them, answer your outreach. But we've seen a lot of decline rates in especially emails been down by like 30%. Or you can, get more targeted and follow those signs, right? So find the right people, engage with them effectively. How do you engage with them effectively? By using your relationship capital on LinkedIn. Like our last speaker said, there's no bad connections. Use those connections or your expanded network to leverage that relationship capital to get more meetings and more high quality conversations faster. And last but not least, elevate that conversation. Don't just Google one thing here and there. Make sure you show it up as a trusted advisor. And let me give you an example. Whether you're either cold calling or sending an email on LinkedIn, a connection request, email, one of my favorite ones is, let's say I'm calling someone, say, hi, I'm Veronica from LinkedIn. I did some research and noticed that a lot of your people are very active in our platform. Your sales and marketing team is very active on our platform. I spoke with your colleague, Sam, and he mentioned that one of his challenges is a decline in pipeline. He's trying to figure out how to get more pipeline that will turn into revenue and shorten those sales cycles. So, if this is something important to you, may I ask you one or two questions to see if we can have a larger conversation on a later date. So there you have it. That's basically my script for cold calling or some emails. Shows that I've come prepared, that I've done some work by using my relationship capital and talking to their colleagues at the company, but also showing up with understanding their business and just asking one or two questions. If it makes sense, great. Or if not, we have a demo and a follow-up meeting. If not, we stay friends and follow each other on LinkedIn and continue to help each other as much as we can. So, last but not least, remember fee, fee, FEE.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Veronica. And I really loved how you actually described how you can use personalization, deep personalization versus this spray and pray approach. It's actually funny how it sounds. And we have some questions from our audiences. So a question from Julia. She is asking, do you believe that LinkedIn sales tools are applicable for selling complex tech or IT solutions?
Yes, I think sometimes we tend to overcomplicate things, and that's a great question, because we got to remember that we're selling to people, right? People selling to people, whether you sell, a widget for a car or a very complex. I actually feel LinkedIn is even better for complex tech solutions because we have relationship maps. We can integrate with your CRM and let you know if your data is up to date. The more complex the solution, the more people that are involved in the sales cycle. So we can help you find who they are, right? Making sure that they haven't changed jobs so they're aware. And then these days, the CFO, no matter how big or small the company is involved in every decision. So definitely just helping you map out that decision maker maps and have alerts so that you can use that relationship capital better. So, thank you for your
Yeah.
question.
Thank you. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. We all people, we all use social media, right? Even if we work in large businesses and tech, complex tech. Yeah, makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, another question is how to interact with people if your audience is not active on LinkedIn. For example, uh, doesn't react or they don't post on LinkedIn. What do you think about it?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, there is a filter on LinkedIn that you can actually narrow it down to those that are active on LinkedIn or that have posted. But another way around it would be to see if maybe they don't post, but they have been mentioned in the news, right? Maybe if your target company has been mentioned, they recently got new funding or they got new leadership. All that information can be tracked on LinkedIn so that you can use that as an icebreaker or to be relevant, right? And invite them to whether it is to join LinkedIn or have a conversation with you. There's different signals that we can use to identify the right people and make sure that we're using the right information to be relevant.
Thank you. So if they don't post and don't react, it doesn't mean they don't visit the platform, right? We can.
Correct. It doesn't mean, everyone uses it a little bit differently. Of course, sales and marketing people are very active, but also uh, C-level executives sometimes may have some help, or they just go and represent the company and make sure everything is up to date on the company page.
Yeah, makes sense. And actually, we have one more question about could you please share 3 to 5 tips on the strong values of LinkedIn Sales Navigator? Probably it means that how you can use it to get the best results.
Yes, absolutely. I think number one is prioritization. Like again, I keep using the example of pray and spray and pray, but you can do that, or you can prioritize. Okay, there's 1,000 people in this company that I want to reach out to. Out of those, should I send everyone the same message, or one, should I filter by people that change jobs? Because based on LinkedIn data, people that change jobs are 62% more likely to answer cold outreach. So boom, that's my favorite filter up right there. Change jobs in the last 90 days. Two, past customers and new companies. I think integrating with your CRM and tech stack helps you not having to toggle from one window to the other. But also, that's what we call, right, low hanging fruit. If someone that bought from you in the past, it's in another company in your target market, they already know how to buy from you. So that's another one of my favorite filters. Like, hey, Joe, you bought from us in the past, you know the process, the pricing, etc. Can we talk about implementing this in your new organization? And then three, all the time that we save with Gen AI. LinkedIn has added, Account IQ, which is like Chat GPT for summarizing 10Ks and information about a company, to Message IQ, which helps you draft messages, or gathering all the different data from LinkedIn posts or news or people at the company. And then three, we're rolling out new features in Q4 and also in 2025 that will help you actually create like an AI assistant, basically, to summarize all those leads and companies for you so that you know where to prioritize your time. So I like to see it like it's basically like Siri, right? You tell Siri, give me directions to go to this restaurant. Well, you'll be able to do that with Sales Navigator in the future. You'll be able to tell them, okay, help me identify, the CRO at company X, Y, and Z, to see if there's a warm connection there. So using those warm paths, right? Like for me, for example, like I said, change jobs is my favorite, past customer and new companies. And then also I went to Notre Dame. We love our alumni network. So I always use that filter where people went to school in my company list. And I reach out to them, we talk a little bit about college football, whether we're bad like a couple weeks ago or good as last week, and as an icebreaker, but also that commonality so that people, drop their guard, and then you follow up with that relevant message and show up prepared.
Yeah, thank you. Makes sense. Yeah,
Mm.
I really love this kind of icebreakers.
Yeah.
Uh, so one more question from our audience is, you've mentioned using signals in LinkedIn Sales Navigator. In your opinion, how accurately can the category interest filters be used to find relevant targets prospects? Yeah,
Great.
this is
That sounds like someone's been using Sales Navigator. That's wonderful. Uh, there are certain categories that are more powerful than others. I've noticed I've have, clients, for example, from manufacturing to software to all different things. So that's when talking to your LinkedIn relationship manager is helpful to make sure that you're using the right signals. So category interest is really powerful for software, for tech, for different areas. So I would have to know a little bit more about your target market in your industry to be more specific. But I personally use it a lot. Like, we live what we sell here on LinkedIn, and I use it to prioritize my day. Sometimes I want to work on relevant messaging by industry. So if I'm talking to software companies, I want to make sure that out of my list of 100 plus, that I'm focusing on the ones that are ready to engage. And what that means, category intent, that means that people are on LinkedIn searching for, your products or services, that type of category, right? Whether it is, IT solutions or software or CRM, they're on LinkedIn looking at companies, maybe following them. LinkedIn tracks hundreds of different signals, all from first party data. Whether it is, again, if you saw a company that you like and you follow, or you click on the link to their website, or if you click on their ads or see their news. We track hundreds of different activities that are all real time updates, right? Because they're driven by our members. And using on that, we create that brand awareness meter, which is the buyer intent or category intent, which goes from neutral to high intent. So every day we track those signals, and the more activities, the higher the category and the buyer intent. But that's a great question. It sounds like someone's been using a Navigator, which is great.
Yeah, some advanced users.
Yes.
Actually, and last question is about, you've mentioned Chat GPT, how you can use Chat GPT. And one of the participants, Yuri, he's asking about Copilot. So what do you think about Copilot? Because it's more like Microsoft's
Yeah.
solution. Yeah. So what would you use, Chat GPT or Copilot?
I think it's a matter of preference, just like I think going back to my Droid versus Apple phone, some people are really like one or the other. The same with either Gmail or Microsoft Outlook. Of course, sometimes we're tied to whatever our company offers. We use Microsoft Outlook. So for me, every Microsoft Outlook or, PowerPoint, Excel, just Copilot's right there. So why would I write another tab when I can just click Copilot and ask different questions? It's all about the prompts. So in that case, if I'm using my email to like, hey, Copilot, help me find this email from customer X so that I can respond, right? Or in Excel, help me figure out this formula so I get rid of these numbers. Or in PowerPoint, help me summarize the key signals from this 50-page presentation, right? I think because I'm used to Microsoft tools and using on a daily basis, Copilot is just a click away in any of those tools. ChatGPT, I think it's more of kind of like, doesn't matter if you use Gmail or Outlook. I do use it still, and I like it because it does have, when it comes to creating like funny images, via DALI or different information that I might not have internally, right? Like external information, or just to verify certain information, validate that maybe the information that I gather is correct. I like that. And also just to throw some like random things, I do like all of them.
Thank you so much, Veronica. It was great. So it was Veronica Rivero with us. So thank you so much for your speech, for your presentation. It was very insightful and useful for our sales and marketing professionals. So before we jump to the next presentation, to our actually panel discussion, I would like to share a little bit of additional value if you are interested in how to use AI for your personal branding and social selling on LinkedIn. You can find our 100 slide guide. It's just free. It's posted on LinkedIn, so you can find it and use it. Just click reading this QR code. And of course, we'll share it as a follow-up after the event as well. So our next panel discussion will be really interesting. It will be about building personal brands on social media with really brilliant speakers, David Justin from Vodafone, Joe Morris from Capgemini, and Todd Swan from Oracle, and with amazing moderator, Becca Chambers, the Chief Communication Officer and ModumUp. So Becca will introduce everyone. So I will just let everyone on the stage. Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, everyone. Shall I kick off?
Yeah, sure, please.
Thank you so much for joining our panel today. I'm Becca, and I'll be moderating this session today. So by way of introduction, I'm the Chief Communications Officer at a company called ModumUp. It's a digital employee experience management company. And I've worked in communications for nearly 20 years, including 15 years in enterprise technology. I'm a huge LinkedIn nerd, and I spend way too much of my time on LinkedIn chatting about whatever comes to my mind, including neurodiversity advocacy and communications leadership hot takes. I have a lot of opinions. I'm also a writer and a speaker and a podcaster, so you can find more of my stuff online and in some publications like the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Fortune, etc. So I'm thrilled to be here with you all. Thanks for having me. We're also here with excellent speakers. Really awesome. Three gentlemen here. David Justin is the Director of Americas and Partner Markets at Vodafone Business. He leads operations, David leads Vodafone Business commercial operations throughout the United States, Canada, and Latin America, in addition to Vodafone Partner Markets, including France, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg, the Nordics, and Vodafone's international public sector customers. Sorry, that's a mouthful. For more than 20 years in international IT, telecoms, and sales, he brings a wealth of experience to the role, and David is a frequent contributor to industry articles and also a member of the Forbes Technology Council, publishing a blog every month. We also have Joe Morris, who is the head of social media and employee advocacy at Capgemini. Joe has over 20 years of digital marketing experience, having held roles including global head of social media. At Capgemini, Joe develops the employee advocacy program and helps teams and executives build their personal brands, reaching the right audience with the right message. Communications in a nutshell. And Todd Swank, Senior Director of Strategic Accounts at Oracle. Todd has excelled in positions from Senior Director to Vice President at top companies such as Oracle, Stebo Systems, and Nortec. A recognized social media influencer and engaging professional speaker, Todd actively uses social media to reach potential clients and maintain relationships with current clients. So now to the good stuff. So thanks for joining the panel today, guys. Today, we're going to discuss personal brand development on social media from these three perspectives: how leaders can develop their profiles, how to motivate employees to manage their profiles, and how to use a personal profile on social media for lead gen, sales, and building client relationships. I'm certain that we're here for a great discussion, and it's even better if the audience is interacting. So I do encourage everyone watching, leave questions or comments in the chat, and I will address them and get them to our speakers. So I would love to hear from you all to get your thoughts on what we should be discussing. So first, we're going to discuss a leader's personal brand on social media. So kick it off by discussing how a leader can develop their own personal profile. David manages his own personal social media presence online. So David, we're going to start with you. Why and when did you start building your personal brand on social media? How have you kept it going? And what do you do to maintain it? Are there benefits to you personally as well as for your company, Vodafone?
Yes. Yeah, very good question. Yeah, I use social media in the sense that I use LinkedIn. So you will not find me on Facebook or any of, let's say, the more personal social media channels. I've been on LinkedIn for a very long time, probably like from the start that it came out. I'm not a premium member, by the way. I'm also not a LinkedIn Navigator user, so I'm just a very basic LinkedIn user. I've used all the, let's say, premium services, but I actually get most ROI for myself and for my company because I have a few hundred salespeople and marketeers and all that use the channels as well. And we basically just use, or the company only subsidizes and funds the basic function. And listen, I think LinkedIn is definitely a massive improvement, and social media as such, if used correctly, I think it's a really strong differentiator to on the first side differentiate yourself because it's in the end it is not a company-owned content for us. So aside from maybe the company profiles that we have on LinkedIn or other channels, how you are on LinkedIn is your personal profile in the end. So how you use that, how you profile yourself is basically how you personally decide how to do that. I use it, as I said, as it's my only, let's say, professional means of interacting a bit solely. And I think it's extremely important that how you brand yourself, that profiles are up to date, that they are definitely authentic. So on the one hand, to position yourself, but also to position your company. Vodafone is socially very active. We are a company that has values, has, I would say, products and services that not only serve the profit of the company, but that also serve communities and people around the world, making them able to connect to people, to content, to those kind of things that matter in the world. So LinkedIn to me is that extension to a much broader audience to show myself, but also to show what my company is able to do. And I use that very actively. Not in a way to really sell, because I think if there is one thing that I think LinkedIn or social selling is not doing very well at the moment is people trying to sell. I think there is definitely a lot of improvement on that. If I see how people try to sell to me, I see a lot of bad salespeople on LinkedIn at the moment, and I think there is definitely a lot of room for improvement on that. But I do think if you use it wisely, if you are authentic in the messaging, if you don't overload, if you don't use like personal things on there, I think is a big no-no. It definitely it will allow people to forward your messaging, and it'll allow you to reach a much broader audience to have those messages come across. So that's a bit in a nutshell how I use it. But happy to hear Joe, Todd, and of course yourself. You seem to be much more active on media than I do. So maybe there's areas that I need to improve myself on rather than just what I'm doing on LinkedIn. So looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that you make a good point. The pitch slap, right? Like selling is broken when everybody feels like they're just getting punched in the face as soon as they get sold to on LinkedIn. So, we need to find a better way. It's not the old style of spray and pray, as we were hearing about last night. David or Joe, I saw you unmuted. Did you have a perspective on this, or shall we move on?
Well, just to say that I agree. I think the problem is that a lot of salespeople look at it as LinkedIn as a sales tool, and it's really a relationship tool. And I get tired of the connection requests, which are basically just a sales pitch. It's like, okay, let's be friends first, right, and then work out whether we want to work together.
That's right. I mean, you wouldn't just go up to a stranger on the street and say, "Hey, buy my thing." You have a soft opening first. So anyway, I totally agree. And I'm actually, to that point, Joe, you help leaders at Capgemini develop their personal profiles on social media. So how do you help motivate them? Because I've struggled with this in my career. You're the comms person, you do it, but they have to participate in order for it to actually work. So what challenges do you face? How do you get them to actively engage, and what benefits do they see from having a strong personal brand on social?
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, it's difficult. It's difficult to get people to do it themselves, especially, the more senior you are, the more demands you have on your time. Why do I need to spend time on this social network? And I think the key thing is to demonstrate the value to them. It's a key step, I think, with any advocacy program is you've got to sell it to them. You advocate for the program internally. And make them understand why it's worth spending their time, what it can do for them personally in terms of their personal brand, their presence, invitations they might receive, that kind of thing, but also the benefits in terms of the relationships that they can build and strengthen using really LinkedIn. I think that's really the key, but also it depends on the role that the person has. It's making them understand that you are a voice for the company, and people do want to know what you have to say. Digital leadership is a hot topic these days, and I think especially like a lot of kind of younger kind of graduates. Potential hires, they look for that. Do they see the leadership of the company on social? What kind of people are they? What do they talk about? What's important? What's the values of the company? And yeah, somewhere like LinkedIn is absolutely a fundamental part of that, to understand and to see that kind of. I mean, it's sort of indirect one-to-one connection with that person. Especially, and David, you mentioned this authenticity. So important that they've got to to be successful. You have to be willing to share a bit of yourself, just as you would in person. That you don't be afraid to be a little bit personal and offer your own perspective. Very scary for a lot of people, for sure. But yeah, and probably not the best way to sell it to somebody directly is to say, well, share photos of your kids and your breakfast. We're not saying that, but it is really about the value of it. But also, realistically, often it's about helping them to do it until they get the point and see, oh yeah, okay, this is really working for me. Thanks, I got it now. That's the idea.
Well, and people like to buy from people, right? And if you can help put the person behind the brand, that helps everybody at your company make the sales. So yeah.
But also because you can show them, okay, your counterparts, your clients, they're using it, they're having these conversations. You're not in the room right now, right? I often think of LinkedIn as basically it's just like a 24-hour conference, and with lots of conversations going on about all sorts of different topics. And if you're not there, then you're not involved in the conversation.
I actually think that's a really good way to sell it when you say it like that, like it's a 24-hour conference, because if you can create a little bit of FOMO, right, where, I get that LinkedIn 5 years ago isn't what it is now, but LinkedIn now is a very important place for people to be. It is the digital watering hole now. And I think if you're not there, to your point, you're missing out on something and opportunities.
And there are genuine opportunities that come from it. We have examples of people being approached and about, asking about, actual sales opportunities. And as well as kind of, PR opportunities and things like that. So, there are real tangible direct benefits that actually impact your revenue.
No doubt. And now if you want to go find out something, you know, our audience here, if they want to find out something about me, are they going to Google me? Are they going to look me up on LinkedIn? Probably look me up on LinkedIn, right? And I think that says it all.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Joe. That was awesome, really insightful. So Todd, I'm going to move on to you. I've noticed that you actively manage your profile. You're regularly posting content. Can you talk a bit about your journey and how you've developed your LinkedIn profile, how you use it, the amount of time you're spending, and more importantly, what you get out of it? But before you answer that, I see that there's a question in the chat that is related to this. So maybe we can kind of double up together, which is how do you avoid feeling like a pompous buffoon when creating LinkedIn content, constantly posting your thoughts? And I'm not exactly, even on professional topics can make it seem like you're presenting yourself as overly self-important. And I think that ties nicely into that question. So,
yes, of course. Well, I am a pompous buffoon in general. So, no, I'm just kidding. But no, Becca, thank you. I wanted to open up by just saying thank you so much for the opportunity to be part of this panel. I love this event and just think it's something I would just enjoy being a participant. So I feel very honored to be actually part of the show here. So thank you to you and to Olga. So again, my name is Todd Swank. I have been a little bit different than David. I tend to be an oversharer. I share a lot of myself online, been doing it for a long time. I've been fascinated with social media since the very beginning. I recently celebrated the 25th year anniversary of my personal blog, toddswank.com. I've been creating weekly blog posts about my life and my family and our adventures since 1999. And I've always jumped in when any new social platform emerges. I double checked before doing this. I posted my first videos on YouTube on December 19th, 2005, which was 4 days after it officially launched to the public. So I've been on YouTube since the very beginning. I've been on LinkedIn. I don't know when I started there, but for many, many years. My day-to-day job is I sell Gen AI and cloud infrastructure solutions to large enterprise customers. And I really find LinkedIn is my best way to connect with the target audience, both one-on-one as well as in mass with the larger groups of people. I use it constantly to connect with new prospects, stay in touch with current customers. And really, I do a wide list of tasks daily and weekly. First of all, anytime I have a meeting with somebody, anytime I meet somebody in person, the first step I do is I reach out to connect with them and just say, hey, let's stay in touch. It's a great way to just, connect with people that you've met once. And, you never find it often, like 2 years later, all of a sudden somebody hits me up and say, hey, I noticed you do this. And, we met at a show once, and that's just great that we stay in touch. So for that, I just don't know if there's anything better than LinkedIn. I also use LinkedIn messages to reach out to people, to talk to people, to share what I do and how I might be able to help, ask them questions. I try to offer value at every engagement. On a daily basis, I connect with my entire network. I leverage all the LinkedIn, catch-up tools, whether it's the, wishing people a happy birthday or a happy work anniversary or congratulate them on their new jobs. It's just a way to constantly kind of put my name in front of people that, hey, I'm here. I love to collaborate. If there's any opportunities that we could work together, let's do it. I don't use the standard LinkedIn messages when I do the happy birthday thing. And I'm sure some of you people are like, oh, I hate that. I get 50 messages. They're all the same. So I always try to use a little bit of a different twist on it just to kind of stand out from the crowd on that kind of thing. And then I also try to share relevant content to my network on a daily basis. One post a day I think is plenty. But, I'm lucky. I work in a very large tech company. So we're constantly generating new innovations, new things that are interesting in the marketplace. So I have the opportunities to share those. But I also don't only want to share things about my company. So I really always try to find, different articles, different things that I think will be thought-provoking to my target audience, just to, again, kind of try to stand out and just kind of build that personal brand. I do post my weekly blog post every Monday on LinkedIn, which again is probably a bit of an overshare. More personal than the two previous speakers mentioned. It's worked for me. I also create an original article every week on LinkedIn, typically more focused on the solutions that I offer, the services that I sell to the customers. And again, you asked about time. It's a time-consuming process. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, but it's really been very effective for me. As a matter of fact, in March of this year, I ranked #1 out of more than 10,000 enterprise sales reps for LinkedIn's social selling index score. So it's been working.
Totally. And, I think to the point about how do you avoid feeling like a pompous buffoon, you just have to start doing it. And the more you write, the less buffoonish it feels, right? Like you just start to feel like you're presenting yourself out there rather than a persona of yourself, which is all back to everyone's point. It's all about authenticity on LinkedIn. And that's what wins the day when it comes to content. So thanks, Todd, for sharing your story there. Absolutely. We have another question from the audience, from Marie. For the personal pages of top leaders, is it best if a person writes the posts themselves, or is it possible to delegate content creation to copywriters? How can a natural tone of voice be maintained if you outsource it? Who wants to take that one?
Well, I use copywriters from time to time, but in the end, nothing goes out until I approve it and even amend it before it gets posted. So if I feel it comes over across unnaturally or unautistic or unauthentic, or I want to give a different swing, I will change it. But I think there's no problem in using copywriters because I don't have a lot of time sometimes to write a lot of context or write very broad paper about things. So I do give them my perspective on things. They will write a story and then I will amend it to make sure that when it gets posted, it's mine. That I really 100% agree with that messaging.
Yep.
I would say that it's sorry, Todd.
No, go ahead.
It's very tough. For senior leadership with the best will in the world, I think probably most of the ones that you see active on LinkedIn have a team that's helping them create content. That's just the way it is. Unless you're Elon Musk, of course, but although I don't know if I'd call that content, but so it's always going to be there. So the real challenge is, okay, how do you maintain that authenticity? And one thing is about having being clear on the person's audience and what it is, their kind of pillars. What do they talk about? What are the things that is interesting to them, and what's their point of view on it as well? Because that's super important, is to not just share generic message about we announced today, blah blah blah. It's about, okay, what is your perspective on that? And again, also actually the personal bit, be able to get a bit of emotion feeling into it, not being afraid to share that, because that really aids connection. But it is very hard to how do you write for somebody else? And also the challenge that we have also is that because we have an employee advocacy platform that we use to disseminate content to people. So then when you're writing that content, how do you write it for somebody that you don't know? You don't know who might share this. So how do you do it in an authentic way? And it's very tough, but there are certain kind of guidelines we have, like write it in the first person for a start, very basic level, and sense check. Well, if I could have posted that on the company LinkedIn page, would I post the same thing on my personal one? No, it's going to be a very different message. But so that isn't really a kind of clear answer to the question, because there isn't one other than, well, just keep pushing them to write their own. But yeah.
Todd, I know you were trying to weigh in earlier.
Yeah, no. The only thing I was listening to the previous panel or the previous discussion, and the topic of Gen AI came up. And with so many tools today to use to create content and to do things like that, how do you still sound authentic if you're using Gen AI in it? And so when I use it in my personal blog from time to time, I just treat it like a personal assistant, and I just keep talking to it and keep, going back and forth saying, hey, I wouldn't say it like this, or I don't like that line. And I just keep doing that over and over again until I'm happy with it. And it honestly, it's my voice, but it comes out sounding way better than how I'd say it, because I sit there and I push back on Gen AI until make that me. And then, like I said, me plus Gen AI, it's the most powerful tool I've ever seen in my 54 years on this planet. And anybody who's not using Gen AI in their day-to-day life, their day-to-day job, their day-to-day content creation, you're missing out, because there's just so much opportunity. And what I tell people all the time is Gen AI today is the worst it's ever going to be, because every day it's getting more powerful. Every day it's getting better. And to use it as a tool, it's going to make your life better. It's going to help you in your job. It's going to help you with efficiency. It's going to help you to be able to do all the things that you say you don't have the time to do better.
Totally. And I think the operative word there is tool, right? It's not a replacement for anything. It is an awesome tool. I created a Becca GPT that I've trained it on my voice. And so if I want to edit something, like just a bunch of word vomit that I have, it will at least help me get started, and it's in my voice. So to your point, I can have a conversation with myself, and it is the best way to unlock ideas in your brain, right?
100%.
It's awesome. And I'm going to just interject my opinion, even though I'm the moderator, on what I do. Part of my job is writing content for other people and writing content for executives on social. And I think the most important thing is that you cannot do it without their participation. And it's not just about capturing their voice, which is obviously essential, but it's really, you cannot tell authentic stories if you don't have authentic stories to tell. And just posting company content is not going to create those connections that you're trying to create to put the face behind the brand. So I think making sure that you have the buy-in and some amount of time, whether it's just getting on for an hour, a month or something with that executive, is what makes or breaks outsourcing executive content on social media. So now that I have the mic again, let's dive into another topic. When it comes to personal branding on social, how do you motivate employees to manage their profiles? And Joe, you mentioned your employee advocacy program at Capgemini and how it helps teams and executives build their personal brands successfully. So can you quickly explain what employee advocacy is, how you rolled it out, and how do you motivate the employees to continue to join it and then continue to use it?
Sure. Well, I mean, employee advocacy, our approach to employee advocacy is that it's making sure that every employee understands that they have a voice, and enabling them to use them for good, not bad. So that's a key part of it, though. Is lots of people want to talk. Use social media. Of course, lots of employees using social media in their personal lives already, of course. So one is about letting them know that it's okay to talk about company content, but understanding what the guardrails are. Super important, first of all, is, especially because a lot of executives will look at the idea of having employees talking about your business as a risk. So we have to kind of try and de-risk it by providing guidelines. So we have a code of conduct, which you could summarize basically as don't be stupid, and it comes with a mandatory training session that everybody has to do. So over 300,000 employees have done it, and so it's good for them. And okay, what can I say and what can't I say? And it's good for the business as well to give them that comfort level as well. So I think that's super important. So that's great for people that are already motivated to talk about it. The other thing is also, okay, what do they say? So of course we can't control what every person publishes on LinkedIn, and nor do we want to. Frankly, I don't have time for that. But it is about giving them core messages. A lot of it comes actually, though, really, it's about the culture of the company and the values of the company, and that fostering a culture where people, one, like being employed by you, and are having good experiences that they want to share, but also that there are things that maybe they're proud of, that we're doing cool stuff, right? And we've got great research and great insights, cutting edge, all that kind of stuff, right? Those are the kind of things that people want to talk about and maybe brag about a little bit. I think with social media generally, and this kind of comes back to some of the other questions, is that it comes naturally to some people and not to others. Some people, it's just a natural reflex to share. And so you just got to kind of give them a little bit of a framework to be able to do that safely within. And for some people, it doesn't, and probably will never do that. And so the challenge with running an advocacy program, so we have one that's focused on our subject matter experts, is okay, filtering out which one are you, and are you going to be doing that? And yes, we can try with everybody to, like I said before, about talking about the value of it, the benefit of it. But after a while, you have to recognize this person's not going to do it. So let's shift our focus to somebody else. I don't know if that answers your question actually, but yeah, that's part of the challenge.
A lot of data that shows that people are more trusting of content that comes from other people and not from brands. So if you're able to help your employees, who are without question your best brand advocates, we should be tapping into them and leveraging them. And this is
that's why you want employee advocacy, is because, and also because we know that like on LinkedIn, for instance, corporate organic content doesn't do very well. And the algorithm is actually actively kind of suppressing it. That so really, advocacy is really your route to market on social. Other than spending a lot of money.
Well, and it goes back to the executive social, right? Like people are more trusting of your executive's voice on social than it coming from the brand, even if they're saying the same content. So people want to buy from people.
Yeah, and if you want to motivate your employees, then have your leadership doing it, and then make sure that they are championing it and encouraging their team to do it. That makes such a massive difference.
Totally. All right, Todd, how about Oracle? How is employee advocacy set up there as both a participant and as an organizer? Do you think, what are the things that are key to getting employees to manage their social media profiles, and what are the benefits for employees and companies building their profiles on social?
Yeah, it always amazes me when I see somebody that doesn't put time into their profile. It becomes pretty obvious, or see some people, without even pictures and things like that. Now I'm in sales, so most of the people that do what I do spend time and do it. So, there's naturally going to be just that motivation, since we're working with clients and we need to be able to get out there. And LinkedIn again is such a good tool to do that. Again, I'm blessed that Oracle offers so many different training opportunities to help us leverage social media. We have programs, they're constantly giving us relevant content to share, relevant articles for people who don't want to spend the time to, come up with their own posts. Honestly, I don't leverage those as much. I do use them a little bit, but for the most part, I like to come up with my own unique content. Again, help stand out from the crowd, allows me to put my own unique spin on things. I loved Joe's comment about don't be stupid. I try to live my life when it comes to social media that way, because, every day you're trying to be out there and stand out from the crowd. And, obviously being provocative, being, saying something out there might get you more attention, but that whole don't be stupid part, it can come back and cause you problems down the road. So, again, I always try to keep a positive voice and a positive spin. Lucky I'm kind of a geek, so I really love the solutions, the innovations that I bring to market and talk to customers with. So that certainly helps, being able to just be really fascinated in what I do and how I can help customers solve problems. When it comes to motivation, to me, social media, my profile, it's my window to the world. It's an integral part of what I do every day. And I'm constantly meeting new people on LinkedIn, really, God, on a daily basis, who are, I collaborate with to help me to achieve my goals. And, hopefully I can do the same for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I find all sorts of opportunities on LinkedIn, especially, but social media, it just opens up a whole new world.
Absolutely.
David, does Vodafone have an employee advocacy program? And if so, how does it work and what benefits do you see?
We don't have a specific like a program. We do of course stimulate using LinkedIn and those kinds of platforms. We do, let's say, we also publish content for people to use. I think over the past few years, and I think COVID kind of accelerated that, is how we encourage people to use it. So I think all in the beginning, definitely in the COVID era, we started measuring people on SSI. So SSI as a KPI for our salespeople to really like jack up, let's say, people's awareness of social and using and really realizing the benefits. And we measured that for a bit over a year. And like we would have leaderboards and all that kind of stuff to see how people's SSIs were going up. We would have sales managers sitting next to, well, not sitting next to, but virtually sitting next to salespeople. Like, how do you position yourself? Webinars and all that kind of stuff. At the moment, we kind of stopped that a bit, like a little bit more micromanagement of SSI and that kind of stuff. Yeah, for me, I think building a bit on what Joe says, leading by example as a leader, I think it's important that our leaders show how we profile ourselves on LinkedIn and social media. So maybe going back to the SSI days, I was always top 5 because I think I need to practice what I preach and how I profile myself and all that for my teams. I think it's super important that we do that the right way. So no real, I would say, a program that we use, but I think definitely some principles and practices that we have to be more effective in how to use it.
And so I have a follow-up then for all of you, which in my career, we have done a lot of gamification when it came to getting employees to use social and the messages that we want them to post on social. Is that something that you guys have used successfully in your programs?
We have an element of it related to the application that we use, and where certain activities using the app, sharing content, things like that, you get points. Of course, there's leaderboards, but really nice thing is that we partnered with a company that plants trees, and so basically we're able to reward people with trees. And these aren't virtual trees. It is actually a tree we are actually funding actual trees getting planted. And, you can see your forest and how much CO2 has been absorbed and things like that. I think that's nice. I mean, I think with those kind of incentives, some people are incentivized by a leaderboard and being at the top of the leaderboard, and some people aren't. What we're thinking about more and more is, well, what about kind of tangible things? Give people a T-shirt and things like that. Partly as a acknowledgement that somebody's done something well, but also it's a promotional tool, right? Something they wear in the office, and people are like, "What's that? How did you get one of those?"
Totally. And I found a lot of success also in just showing the leaderboard in all hands or town halls or whatever to say, hey, look, these are our social, the people here who are really carrying our message. Yeah. And like you said, a T-shirt or whatever, because then more people see it and they're like, oh, I didn't know I could be on that. How do I get on that? And then you're promoting your message. Yeah.
Right.
You find your competitive people and you tap right into that. And so somebody wants to win the leaderboard, always. Yeah.
Yeah. You do get some people who actually react quite negatively, quite strongly to that as well, though. The idea of being rated in some way.
No question. I know. Well, we have another question actually from the audience. Jessica said, we have an employee advocacy program, but I feel like it's so ineffective. Our compliance team makes us put in disclaimers, even though we are trying to make it sound like they wrote it themselves. Ouch. Legal kills comms sometimes.
Yeah. I'd say that's a nightmare. I'm sorry for you. I mean, you know, that kind of thing has come up before, and should people put disclaimers in their bios and things? And, you know, we know, one, they're not legally binding in any kind of way, and two, nobody cares. So I think the way that we've got around it is, one, by, you know, trying not to talk to lawyers too much about it for a start. But also, like I mentioned, the code of conduct gives us that kind of leverage to make sure that people aren't saying the wrong thing, they aren't representing themselves to be something that they're not, and that kind of stuff. But yeah, we also have to be vigilant, right? That monitoring and monitoring LinkedIn is such a nightmare. But is okay if you see something that's like, nah, I don't think you should mention that. Then, you know, you have to see that post and then act on it as well. But yeah, you can't be putting in legal disclaimers and things in messages, because then immediately it kills the message completely dead.
Even
So,
in
yeah,
your corporate messages, not even just your employees' messages, your corporate messages also should not have legal disclaimers. You know, you have it on the website and you may be somewhere else, but not in your social media content.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that you can also do is have a public social media guidelines on your website. And you could always have people link to that in their bios if you want, where, you know, you can put in a blanket disclaimer there if you want. But yeah,
I much prefer your compliance program and don't be stupid. That's a pretty good blocker right there.
I mean, that's why social media guidelines are really important, the same as brand guidelines are really important, or an internal code of conduct is really important, because then people can't say, oh, well, I didn't know better. But it's like, well, you should have known better. You signed a thing that said you knew better. And then it's on the company to help with educating, right? How do you make sure your employees are not misrepresenting your brand online? You don't get to control what they say, but you can say, you're not allowed to say that about us, right? Things like that. Fun.
Also, the thing is that social media tends to be self-regulating, in the sense that if somebody's behaving badly online, then you'll hear about it, right? And something to make clear to employees as well. You might not say that your employer is Capgemini in your bio, but somebody's going to go searching and they're going to put two and two together. Then they're going to send us an email to complain about you because you're being mean. So there's that. I think that's really useful, because we have over 300,000 employees. We can't be everywhere all at once. So we really rely on the community to help us monitor
that. I see another question from the audience. Nathan is asking, what are some results coming from social media usage on LinkedIn? Are there any examples based on your own experience?
I got plenty, but one, when I saw that, some of the things we talked about earlier about just being authentic and truly care about people. I know David mentioned earlier about being annoyed when people just start trying to sell to you right away. I mean, obviously, in a cold intro, you got to come in a little bit with who I am. But by showing genuine interest, truly caring about people, their problems, what they're doing, what they're sharing, and really focus on it, you can separate yourselves from the crowd that way. I think of a CFO that this was a few years ago, we were trying to get him to talk to us, try to have a conversation with us. Couldn't do anything. I had inside sales reps working on it. Myself was working on it. And one day I remember on LinkedIn, he posted an article about his son's robotics team in school doing well in a competition. And my sons were both on the robotics team at school. And so I just reached out to him and said, hey, saw this, shared some of the information about my kids. And sure enough, he responded right away. We had a nice dialogue, and it ended up leading to a real conversation. So you can't do that by just, coming in hard and, hey, buy my stuff. And I got the greatest, stuff out there, better than the competition. But if you genuinely show interest in people and truly try to learn about them and what motivates them and drives them, it can really be effective.
I guess it also depends. What are you trying to measure? Are you trying to measure brand awareness? I think for us it's difficult. I haven't really seen any way that we can assess, for example, what is Vodafone's brand awareness in the market by using social media on LinkedIn. I'd be keen if there are ways to do that, to hear about that. Personal branding, yes, definitely. Yeah. So you can, but again, how do you measure it? What the success could look like? Is a lot of likes? Is that success? Are you reaching your target audience? So you'll definitely reach an audience, I think, by using LinkedIn. But is it the audience that you want to reach? So I sometimes see from my posts that I will reach one of my existing network, and most commonly, I will reach the people that work for me. And those are typically the biggest chunk of people that like the stuff that I put on. So you can see results, but are those the results you want to hit? And what is in the end the actions that you take to reach a much broader audience, to reach a much wider, let's say, customer base, or you want to increase lead generation and those kind of things? I think for me, it's still a bit unclear. How do we get to measuring really success on LinkedIn? Because connecting to a customer, a partner, someone, I think you could call that success. But what in the end is that going to generate? You'll have some personal, let's say, brand awareness that goes up, but is it going to generate business in the end, or is it going to get you a better job after a couple of years? So for me, that's still a bit of an unknown, how successful sometimes it is and how you measure it.
I think that the most important thing you can do is figure out what are your goals, and they're not ever going to be the same, right? Your company might want to hire more people, right? We're going to have a hiring campaign, and how do we create momentum on LinkedIn? And then you can measure that. Did that create a bump in links back to the hiring page? Did that increase the number of people applying for a job, right? So it really depends on what are the goals for being on social in the first place. Joe, did you want to weigh in? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, so much of it is about intangibles, isn't it? It's that perception, and how do you measure that? Apart from doing surveys and things like that, that's really hard. I mean, measurement generally is something that we put a lot of thought into and had a lot of conversations about. And yes, we can measure metrics, but what's the actual business impact on that? Is very difficult. Really hard to measure. There's a big gap between a LinkedIn post and a sale, right? So that's very difficult. So then it is about like individuals. What is their purpose? Who is their target audience? Who is it they're trying to reach? And somewhere like when it comes to like account-based marketing, it becomes a little easier, or at least more tangible. Because then okay, this person is account manager for X company. Okay, are they part of his network? Have any of them interacted with his content? Right, that's there. You can start to actually see it. I mean, actually getting that information is hard. But yeah, so it really varies.
Yeah. And just as a personal anecdote, I started posting very regularly at the beginning of this year, and I went from 4,000 followers to 18,000 followers since January. So just from like what am I getting out of it? I am suddenly reaching all of these communications people. I'm on a mission to change the way that people feel about communications. And now I have 10,000 new comms people who I'm also talking to who also agree with this. And we can all start to further this goal together. What am I getting out of it? My goal is to get this message out. So now we're all amplifying it together. So it really just depends. It's goal oriented. What are your goals? And then how do you back into those goals? So let's pivot to the last topic, which is about how social can be used for lead gen. And I think that this is a perfect segue since we're talking about what results does social get you. So Todd, I'd like to start with you since I know you actively use social to build relationships with clients and connect with new ones. So what does that strategy look like? What steps do you take? And one of the questions from the audience is, how do you build relationships? Let me get the exact wording from the audience here. It's approachability. I've noticed there's a lot of conversations around short form video. How have you addressed this in your content? Oh, wait, sorry, that's a different question. Carry on. Ignore me.
No worries. You want me to go, or did you want to? Okay. Did you want to finish that or thought or?
I'm going to ask my first question again. How
Okay.
do you use the social to connect with clients? What strategy do you use? And then I'll go to the next question.
No worries. So again, I've been doing business to business sales, B2B sales for more than 30 years. I think salespeople are really motivated by processes that work. And again, as we've said over and over again, LinkedIn works. I use it constantly to find new opportunities, to progress existing opportunities, and to close opportunities. And especially, when it comes to finding new prospects, if I want to build new pipeline, I create a campaign and I follow a pretty simple formula. First, I clearly identify what problem am I solving. Next is who has that problem. And third is how does my solution do it better than the competition? I then use LinkedIn to build a list of relevant prospects. Then when I have all of this information, I execute a simple 9-step prospecting campaign, which leverages email, phone calls, and LinkedIn messages on a regular cadence to engage with that target prospect list. Once I get through that list of all those 9-step campaigns, I measure results and I determine, all right, did this campaign work? Do I want to continue the same campaign with a new list of prospects? Or it was not so great, maybe I'll start over and create an entirely new campaign. It's really, in my career, it's been a very effective system, and LinkedIn is just a key part of it. Oh,
I can go next because I have quite a few salespeople in my teams. Listen, I think we definitely use emails and all that. I think maybe for the salespeople out there, I think quality over quantity. I think LinkedIn gives you access to many, many people, but a bad message to a prospect or a future customer sent to 1,000 people is going to give you 1,000 times and no success. I think 99% of all the LinkedIn messages or email that I get personally, because I also buy, is salespeople who do not know what I do. Like I've gotten people trying to sell me aluminum roof or franchises and it's constantly, or trying to just set up a meeting with me where they try to say, I just want to talk to you because I want to get to know you better. The messaging and understanding who you are sending it to, what this person's world is about, the challenges that they are facing, and then in a very, very concise, good way, give some kind of an insight that you could resolve that problem. It's not easy. It takes a lot of research. It takes a lot of work, but just a few of those to some people will get you so much more effect than sending 1,000 messages or 10,000 emails where you are actually just saying nothing. If for the salespeople on there, and it's also the advice that I give to my sales, understanding your customer is so massively important when you try to communicate with them. Being precise, don't pitch too hard, not too long messages. Long emails, I think, is horrible. Just short messaging, understand customer and what you could potentially do for them, and if they have time. And don't give them like a link, like please book a meeting in my agenda, because I find that horrible that I need to click and then I need to go in their agenda and then I need to solicit for a 20-minute slot on someone's agenda. Some of these tools are just wrong. I think connection is massively important. Understanding your customer, like who is it, what does he do, how does he profile himself, how does he position himself in a customer. I think an email sometimes is even better than an email. A telephone call can also be extremely powerful because nobody calls anymore nowadays. So as soon as like an executive contact gets a phone call nowadays, if it's a real number, they typically pick up. So combination of those things, but understanding customer is front and center of everything, and being able to deliver a very concise, powerful message. You'll get very far with that, but people do definitely need to work on that.
There's little that I dislike more than just the message that just says, hi, how are you? With no context or whatever. Because if someone were to just like yell that to me in real life, hi, how are you? Rather like without any context, you're just kind of like, what? It's a weird, I don't know. It's a weird thing when there's no personal introduction first, you know, at least compliment my shoes or something before you come in and try to sell me something. Todd, did you have anything to add to that?
Oh, so much. I mean, everything David was saying, I was like, yes, 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 so true. I mean, the days of, you know, I go back to mass email blasts, even mass fax blasts back in the day when you could do that. But yeah, you got to personalize everything. You know, you can't, you know, you really got, anytime I send a message, an email, I do as much research I can on that person, try to get to that point of who that person is, what is their problem, what problem are they trying to solve, and how I might be able to help them do that, and be extremely concise. You can't have, you know, nobody has the time anymore to read paragraphs on an email. If you can't say it in a paragraph or less, it's probably not worth even trying.
David, do you use social to build relationships with current or new clients?
Yes, all the time. So I will do it all the time, but I will also use, again, I will use email as well. I will make them personal. So whenever I send a connect request, so I don't just follow. I don't really like that function in LinkedIn. So I do connect, and I will always send a personal note. Yeah. I think just connect and then nothing.
What does it
I will say, yeah.
What is the
I
note
will
say?
I will just say, hey, it was great. Typically, I will do it after I've met someone, so I don't just connect to people that I haven't met yet. I will say, hey, it was really nice meeting you. Looking forward to connect. David, that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing more.
Joe, what about you? Do the sales managers at Capgemini participate in, well, you launched an ABM program, so I guess you can talk a little bit about that, but how does that work with social?
Well, so we're in the process of doing that at the moment, and we're learning as we go and making it up as we go, quite honestly, because we haven't done this before. But you know, it's understanding, okay, sales, what do you actually do? How do you work? And then figuring out, okay, how can we help you to use social to supplement what you do in real life? So you know, we're looking at, okay, first of all, are you guys using LinkedIn? Are you using it well? Is your profile good? Okay, let's give you some guidance on how to improve your profile, and then how to use it, and then how to, you know, it's sort of kind of LinkedIn sort of best practices about, okay, yeah, do you hit somebody with a connect message immediately, or do you then actually just start following their content, start responding to their content, have a conversation, and then lead to a connection, for instance?
So you train your employees on this?
Well, we're going to. We haven't started
In
yet.
theory.
But yeah, that's the idea. Is that it is to actually be able to. And what we'd like to be able to do is take specific teams, priority accounts, and coach them through the experience. But we're at the stage now, just trying to understand what do they actually need. Because that's a thing that we really learned with marketing and with account-based marketing is that we need to work with them and understand what they need and make sure that what we're doing is complementary to what they already do, rather than, okay, we're forcing you now to use this other channel, because that doesn't really work very well. So so we're at the start of our journey with account teams, but that's it. It's also, okay, Sales Navigator, do you have a license? Do you know how to use it? Are you using it well? So you know, that's something that's very tangible that we can train people on how to actually make best use of it. So that's what we're planning. And then also what we want to move on to more and more is, okay, there's a specific, like, there's an event happening, for, you know, Paris Motor Show is happening next month. So, okay, we work with the automotive team. Okay, then how can you use Advocacy to supplement what you're planning to do already? And then for the account teams, okay, does it play a role for you? Is it just about positioning the account people as subject matter experts? Because I think that's really important, that it's not just about, you know, those few decision makers that you're targeting at this company, but it's also about the presence, awareness of Capgemini, the brand, and what it can offer as well, and that is just about sharing content, and not just branded content, but third-party content,
Right.
having something interesting to say about it, having a perspective, and then you build up your influence, and then you can start to use that to convert people sharpen into the pipeline.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I do think that kind of, employee advocacy, giving people the tool is one thing, but then really empowering them with how do you use LinkedIn, not just how do you optimize your profile, but how do you optimize your profile? How do you start conversations? How do you use all of these tools and this data to do your job better? I think that's the next frontier for social
and
selling.
understand the algorithm. How does the algorithm work? And
have experts teaching them rather than having them trying to figure out for themselves, or the few motivated salespeople who do know how to do it. Like, let's share knowledge and let's have it be part of sales
training is critical.
Right? Yeah. Anyway, I think we are at time, and that is all we have time for today. But I want to thank everybody on the panel today, David, Todd, Joe. This has been an awesome discussion, very insightful, and I'm sure that our viewers are walking away with some new ideas. Speaking of viewers, thank you all for joining today, for your time and your questions and your comments. If you have questions that didn't get answered, or you have specific questions for any of us, feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn. We are all on LinkedIn. There are QR codes with links to the profiles that are on the screen, or will be on the screen. There they are. So to wrap up, thank you everybody. I hope you can all appreciate how powerful personal branding and your profile on LinkedIn can be, whether it's for your brand, your personal brand, or your company's brand, or building a strong HR brand, or attracting new clients or partners. Social media can do all sorts of things. So if you choking over my words. If you know your goals, you can back into them, and social is an absolutely fundamental tool for that. So thanks to our speakers, and that's it. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of the day. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Thank you, Olga.
Yeah, thank you so much, Becca. You're a great and energetic moderator. Thank you so much. So yeah, let's go to the next session. But before that, slides of a little bit additional value as well. Some social selling case studies, just to get maybe inspired, motivated to learn more about the real results of the project, of social selling project. We shared some of our case studies with Microsoft partner, with NetApp itself, and with Georgia State University. So you can find them by the links, and we will share these slides after the conference, so you can find them after that. So it's okay if you don't have enough time to read all of them right now. So let's move to our panel discussion on psychological aspects of personal branding. And actually, it's really interesting topic because I have a master's degree in business psychology myself, so I'm really interested, and it would be great to discuss it and together with Sarah Mittal, director of Ipsos Behavioral Science Center. So yeah, you have an amazing experience. Hi, Sarah.
Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, and Marco Baldocci. Marco is CEO of. Actually, you have a lot of companies in your profile, so probably you will explain it better than I do. But Marco is a neuromarketing expert and speaker. So please tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can jump to the questions. Who would like to start?
Sure, I'll get started. Thanks, Marco. Sarah Mittal. My background is a PhD in consumer behavior, consumer psychology. I taught in the marketing department of a couple of universities for about a decade, and then transitioned over to the Behavioral Science Center at Ipsos, where I'm a director there and work on embedding consumer psychology into the marketing research that we do. And thanks for having me.
Hi all, my name is Marco Baldocchi. I am specialized in consumer neuroscience. I'm in the United States. I'm author about some books. I was former in Italy for some university, and now with my company in Italy and in the United States, we work about neuroscience applied to marketing, branding, for the most consumer behavior.
Great. That sounds amazing. So thank you. Thank you for joining us today. And you are great experts. And I'm just looking forward to our discussion. And actually, I would like to ask you about today in general. We are going to talk about how neuroscience, neuromarketing, and psychology can help you effectively communicate on social media and build your personal brand, and how maybe you can use some psychological triggers, some specifics of your audiences, and some other behavioral economics I don't know, facts and maybe research data to build your personal brand more effectively. And actually, the first question to you will be about we actually talked before about some both emotional and rational elements of social media representation, and it's interesting to learn more about how to create a first impression and attract attention of your audiences. So could you please share what kind of psychological or neuromarketing specifics you can use, some research data or something else? So who would like to start?
Sure, I'll take this one to start. And I think we should always take a step back as we think about a first impression. And just like a good brand, think about who our audience is, right? Like our goal probably is not to become internet or Kim Kardashian famous, but rather think about who is our tribe, right? Like who is most likely to engage with us depending on what the platform is. And what are they looking for? What do they value? And then really tailoring sort of how we appear to them. And one way to think about that is as we narrow in on who our tribe is, what does an expert sort of in our field or in our tribe look like? And what are the cues that we can send out to convey our expertise more intuitively maybe than what are people going to be looking for? What sorts of cues? So is that a certification? Is that a certain background or experience that we need to make sure to highlight? Or more subtly, well, how do we appear in our pictures and our imagery? So there's some really nice recent research where they looked at influencers who showed off luxury or status types of products in their profiles. And what they found is that if this was relevant for your line of work, it made sense, right? You're showing that you're an expert sort of in this area. You have personal experience. But if luxury or status products were not relevant, then what happened was a bit of a backfire effect, that people viewed this individual, this influencer, as perhaps more self-motivated, more materialistic, probably isn't going to have my personal views or interest at heart. And so I think that's a nice example of when you consider sort of who your target audience is, what's relevant for your field. How should you show up? Is it important to be family oriented or not? Is it important to have certain credentials? Some other sort of broader, nice examples from consumer psychology of how we appear and sort of can't help ourselves in terms of making first impression judgments is for men, what they found is that if you have a beard, that we oftentimes use beards as an indicator of sort of expertise in your field when no other signs are present. And so when you consider having your LinkedIn profile picture, for example, maybe consider donning a beard, even if you don't in your day-to-day life. This doesn't help us ladies though, right? And so what does the research say for women in industry? Well, what we can do is wear spectacles. I actually did this in some of my job interviews when I first showed up as a young academic professor wanting to make sure that I didn't look too young. Is if you wear glasses, they find that you are perceived as more qualified and more of an expert, more credentialed in your area. So really easy things we can do. Another nice insight is that they find that if your imagery is overly photoshopped, even if it's imagery related to your product or service, that again, people have sort of this intuitive light bulb that's like, there's something uncanny about this that feels inauthentic. So making sure that we're showing authentic imagery of ourselves. In thinking about authenticity, the last point that I want to make, and then I'll turn it over to Marco, is the idea of there are probably other experts in our field. So what makes us unique? Just like a brand, you know, what is something that we have that can help us stand out? Is that our background? Maybe it's even a tangential hobby or skill or the journey that we took to get here. What is something unique about us that we bring to the table that we can make sure to highlight as our sort of unique selling proposition for our personal brand? So those were some of the points I wanted to highlight on making a first impression. I'll turn it over to you, Marco.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you especially for the bird. I'm very happy about that. Thank you also to you, Olga, for the amazing question. Making a solid first impression on social media is absolutely key, and tapping into a bit of neuromarketing and psychology can give us a real edge. So I want to bring three topics about this question. The first one is the 7 seconds theory. Probably you might have heard that we form our first impression in just 7 seconds or even less. This happened because our brain's quick processing areas like the amygdala, which is responsible for the immediate emotional responses and survival instinct, is constantly scanning new information to decide if something is worth our attention. The attention is a very precious thing for us, like human beings. On social media, this means that you've got a blink of an eye moment to catch someone's eyes. Using striking visual, bold headlines, or compelling stories can activate the amygdala and make people stop scrolling, and it's very important. The key is to create content that immediately resonates on an emotional level, not only a rational one, and we will talk about later, prompting the brain to pay attention. The second one is considering the human being as naturally self-interested creatures. Now, I don't mean that we are selfish in a bad way, but a little bit we are. It's just our brain are wired to look out for ourselves. The prefrontal cortex, which handles the decision-making and planning, is always evaluating information based on personal relevance and benefit. So when we are crafting content, think about the value we are providing to our audience is very important. Are you solving a problem, teaching something new, or offering entertainment? By delivering real value, you engage the brain reward centers like the nucleus accumbens, making people more likely to interact with your content and come back for more. The third and last point is the important, and I want to reconnect with one of the topics that Sarah spoke before, is the importance of authenticity and staying true to your values. People can sense authenticity, and it's a big deal in building trust. This is partly due on the mirror neurons, which help us understand and empathize with others. When you are genuine, it activates these neurons in your audience, fostering a sense of connection and trust. Staying trust to your value and being consistent in your messaging reduces cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort we feel when things don't align, which is processed in areas like the anterior cingulate cortex. By being authentic, you make it easier for people to relate to you, which encourage loyalty and long-term engagement.
Great, that's so interesting. So summarizing it from the emotional perspective, you can influence people by some, I don't know, beard, glasses or something like that. Yeah, some other effects. And from the rational perspective, you can, for example, just build your sincere personal brand, broadcast your values on social media, right? Is it about that? Like this kind. Okay, great. Yeah. So we've discussed how to build first impression, but of course it's not enough. We need to continue engaging our audiences and build relationships. After that, we need second impression and the third impression, etc., etc. So actually, and it would be great if all of these efforts lead to some business results after all. So what do you think about it from the neuromarketing and psychology perspective? What kind of methods and tactics we can use to be more effective in our engagement and building relationships on social media?
I can start for this question, and I mean that it's very important to figure out when we talk about business to consumer or business to business, because often we talk about when we create our image, we think about the business to consumer, but we often work in business to business. So it's very important to figure out also that in business to business, emotion and rational are play a crucial role. Let me explain by introducing the concept of cognitive cruise. Imagine the decision-making as a journey where the wings of emotion meets the waves of rationality. During this cruise, we are navigating both emotional and logical factors before reaching our final destination, that's a decision. Emotion, in this case, aren't limited to joy or anger. They are also including feeling like trust, confidence, especially safety, which are incredibly important, for example, in B2B relationship. For example, a company might choose a supplier not just because of cost or features, but because they feel secure about the supplier reliability and long-term support. And this sense of safety, it's an emotional response that significantly influences rational decision-making and create a relationship between supplier and potential customers. And very important thing, and connected also with authenticity, it's connected with the artificial intelligence. We live in the era of artificial intelligence and data analytics. And it's easy to assume that the decisions are becoming entirely data-driven. However, it's important to remember that the humans are still the helm of the choice. Research in neuroscience and psychology suggests that a substantial portion of our decision-making is influenced by subconscious emotion processes in parts of the brain, like the limbic system, which then influence our conscious rational thought processes and in the proper context. Essentially, we often make decisions based on emotional responses, and then we rationalize our responses. For example, in my case, I can tell you that we analyze a lot of these cases, a lot of marketing campaigns in business to business. And our goal is to find the balance between emotion and rationality and how to integrate both of them.
It's actually really interesting because I think that some marketing professionals, they have this stereotype that for B2B audiences, you need only rational communication because it's business, it's serious, it shouldn't be emotional at all. And what do you think about that? Does it work this way, or and B2B and B2C approaches could be different, or it's all the same? We are all humans after all. So what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think probably Marco and I would agree that at the end of the day, it's still a human making a decision. And so we can't help but be biased in the ways that our brain works and operates and makes sense of the world. And to sort of echo his point about, there's a lot of unconscious things that are happening and how we make sense of our world. There's this really nice book called The Storytelling Animal, and essentially says that as humans, the way that we assign meaning to the things that happen in our lives and make sense of history and where we're going is through storytelling. And so I think that's actually a really powerful lever to think about pulling in personal branding as well, is how can we use storytelling to meld that rational sort of showing we're an expert with the emotional piece. So how can we tell a story about a time that we solved a problem for a client, which is showcasing that rational expert piece that they're looking for and need, but also put a twist on it that shows sort of a personal touch that we gave or a hiccup we ran into that feels more authentic to connect to. The other way that we can think about aligning to both parts of our brain is to use imagery whenever possible. We know from prior research that images are quicker, easier to process, and also easier to recall. So anytime that we can tell a story with not just words, so audio, we're making a recording like we are today, or typing up a post, but also complement that with an image that's relevant and contextualized and helps to tell the story, it's more likely to engage and easier to be recalled later.
Well, yeah, especially videos. I think on LinkedIn now it's a huge thing, and the great formats to try. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Mark, would you like to add something about like this B2B, B2C conflict?
Yeah. Consider that I'm totally agree with Sarah, because it's a very important thing to consider that we are an amazing animal with a lot of fight inside us, or cooperation, like you prefer, from the rational and irrational part. And it's very important to engage people all over the emotion, the rational part. It's not just to create an emotion or engage rationally. Yes, it's true that sometimes in business to business, it's data-driven information are very important, but the data-driven information are just a tool to create an emotion. In this case, for example, trust. And so we are connected with emotion. And the last thing that I want to add about this is about that at the end of the day, it's people making decisions. So that's the reason why it's very important incorporating emotional components into a business strategy, for example, doesn't detract from the rational aspect. Instead, it's a complement them by connecting with the audience on a, I can say, like a deeper level.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Yeah, when you both influence them emotionally and rationally, of course, it's much, much deeper than just some one thing. And actually, when we talked before our panel, Sarah, you mentioned system 1 and system 2. Could you please tell us more about that, how it works and how it can help us to build personal brand?
Sure. I think, system 1 is essentially the part that's always running in the background. It's our intuitive, it's our intuition, it's our gut. And we can't help but be influenced by it as much as we try. And our system 2 is our rational side of our brain that is taking time to analyze the data and make sense of it and understand the pros and cons of a decision, for example, or do I want to listen to this person? But at the end of the day, both processes are at work, and our system 2 is influenced and fed into by our system 1 intuitions and feelings. And we struggle as humans to sort of separate those two. And one of the things that we talk about a lot in our line of research is using sort of people's system 1 motivations. What are the ways that they approach a decision, for example? We talk a lot about having like a promotion mindset versus a prevention mindset, maybe as a business decision maker. And then if we can frame the same message, but in a way that aligns with the proper mindset, they're again more likely to engage. They may not be able to tell you exactly why that is, but it's because it feels more intuitive then. So a prevention mindset is going to be one where you talk about, hey, choosing me is about avoiding missteps. My company has guarantees, that it's very much about taking care of obligations. Whereas a promotion mindset is going to be very much around framing your personal brand and your product about how can you get more out of your company or for your company, focused on growth or exciting new opportunities. You can see they're very different framings, but you could frame the same service or product in a different way to align to those underlying motivations. And so we do a lot of work to try and identify what are the underlying motivations that people bring to the decision context, and then helping brands to try and like frame that up. And I think that's extremely relevant here too, when you think about your personal brand, is as a business decision maker in your audience, what do they care about? What are their personal goals? What identity is relevant to them? And what are the ways that we can cue those goals and identities to make our content feel more self-relevant as they engage with it?
Yeah, thank you. That's really interesting. And actually, I would like to learn more about neuromarketing perspective that we also discussed it a little bit, how it works. Could you please tell our participants how actually neuromarketing works and how, for example, you can maybe measure the effect of some, piece of content on people or something else?
Yep. Sure. We use biomedical tools like electroencephalography, eye tracking, and other tools to figure out exactly what happens in the human mind and body when they have an experience. Why? Because the rational part of our brain is influenced by our biases, and so sometimes we are not able to share really our thoughts. And sometimes we lie because we love to lie, or because we feel ourselves more comfortable lying. Okay, and because often, for example, we give the answer that the people that is in front of us want to receive, instead of the things that we really think. But there is a lot of emotion very fast that we are not able to save in our rational part of our brain. So sometimes we have emotion that we are not able to really rationalize. And so in this case, we lie not just because we want to lie, but because we are not able to perceive exactly what we are feeling about the product or services or a person, for example. So it's a really an amazing dance. And we found during our researches, we found a huge difference between the things that people say and the things that people really feel, like emotion, like reaction. And I think it's very connected with the concept. It's about the needs. Because when we talk about needs, we talk about the conscious need. But we never think about the hidden need. We have two different types of needs. The conscious needs are the wants and requirements that, for example, people are fully aware of and can easily express and share with others. The hidden need are the desire, that underlying desire or motivation that we can have, but we are not totally conscious about that. So it's very important, if you are able to intercept the inner need of your customers doing your marketing research, you can be different from other companies, for example, because basically all the companies work on the conscious need. And if you see, for example, 10 different websites of companies that work in the same industry, you find the same messages, a little bit different, but the same, because they intercept only the conscious need. If you are able to intercept the unconscious need, you can be salient. And often it's connected with a small detail of your company. Our brain is an amazing machine. And when you tell a story, for example, the thing that easily you save in your mind, like memory, is a detail more than all the story. And it's an incredible opportunity that we have thanks to our brain. So sometimes it's very important to, if you are working in a very competitive field, you can be just another one. And I can do some example. For example, you probably have bought once in your life the Red Bull. Why the Red Bull had this amazing success? One of the first things is that the can is smaller than the normal can. And for our brain, it's something different. I can say the same for Pringles chips or Toblerone, that it's like a triangle chocolate. And they be different. And they create a mark. When you are in a supermarket, you have tons of chips, but easily you can recognize the Pringles thanks to the shape of the can. So probably they figure out that they need something to be different. Otherwise, they are just another chip.
So if we are talking about personal branding, does it mean that, for example, I've colored my hair red and I'm trying to be different. So is it about that to be so different from other people, so they just pay their attention on us and they start reacting?
Can be details, for example, can be details. If I watched well, you had in probably your website or something, the ducks, and you have the same ducks behind you. And it's something, it's like an anchor, it's like a visual anchor, okay? And yes, be different, it's also in your image, and it's be authentic, because we are all different. And more you are authentic, and more you are interesting for your potential public, because they see you as a human being and not just as a professional. And the second thing is about your content. If you try to talk about the same thing, so the same way, like other 100 or 1,000 professionals, you are just one of them. Probably you are the best, could be, but people don't are able to make a comparison because they receive tons of stimuli, and our brain is not programmed to save all the stimuli. So we save just the things that are very interesting for us. Do you remember when I told we are a little bit egoist animal? Yes, we are. But it's a natural way to be egoist. So it's very important to be different, also in the way you propose your content, also in the way you, and how to be different, how to be unique, because we are unique. My way to explain is not Sarah's one, is not yours, and it's not, because it's normal. I'm Italian, I have my Italian accent, and so I move a lot with my hands. I'm Italian, you know? So it's not, and that's me. And if you listen to my podcast, or if you watch my videos, or you can find myself, like Marco human being, before Marco professional. And that's me. People can like, people not, but it's okay. I'm unique in my way, like you are unique in yours. Sarah is unique in hers, and that's it.
Yeah, that sounds really amazing, to find something unique in yourself and just show it to the audiences, to the public. Yeah,
don't copy the others. My suggestion is don't copy the others. Sometimes people have an idea, have a professional that they love, and they try to copy the way to work. Don't do this. You are unique. Work on your way. It's longer, could be, but it's you.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to find yourself, like a public image. So, Sarah, would you like to add something on that, or?
Yeah, I do think, it doesn't have to be that you look unique, but it could be your tone of voice, right? Or your story, like we talked about. Or when I used to teach, I would always introduce my French bulldog at the start of the school year because a lot of students had pets. So I knew that was relatable. So finding sort of something that is unique to you, and it can be something personal that you bring into some of your content, or it could be even just your tone. Maybe you've decided that you found a way to talk about your expertise or give simple hacks via memes, right? Whatever the case is, I think like owning it and being authentic in the way that you present is really important. The one other thing I wanted to circle us back to, Olga, was that idea of, because we're talking about personal branding, it's not all about just being a one-way form of communication, right? We certainly are putting ourselves out in the world, but I think the most powerful influencers in whatever area are ones that do a really nice job at engaging their audience. So remembering that people want to feel like they're a part of something. So when we create content, what are the ways that we can engage them? Can we ask for their opinion? Share how you're dealing with this challenge for your particular business, or tell me what your challenges are and let's try and problem solve them. There's some recent research on this idea of reciprocal intimacies, which is making sure that you interact not just one-to-many, but also take some opportunities to interact one-to-one, is a really important way to build sort of that. It feels like a more personal connection with your audience, right? And it can also help create a sense of community as they interact with each other. If there's anyone that I could point to as a great example right now is Emily Oster. I don't know if anyone's heard of her, but she takes behavioral economics and applies it to parenting. And she leverages all of these strategies where she has a day where she takes Q&A and people ask her questions and she answers them directly. She takes parenting goals and then applies behavioral science to the goals or key questions that people have in their role as a parent. And I think that's just a really powerful example. If you're looking for who does personal branding really well, I would point you to her content. And her personal thing, since we've talked about what makes her unique, is that she does running. I mean, beyond being a behavioral economic professor, is she also talks about her passion for running. And so it's really a nice compilation or example of taking a lot of the things we've talked about today and applying them in the real world if you're looking for a real world case study.
Yeah, thank you so much. And actually, if you allow me to spend 2 more minutes, I will ask you a question from one of our participants. Would it be okay? Yeah. So, thank you. So the question is about the future, actually, about some trends in people behavior on social media that we will face in the coming 1 to 3 years. Of course, it's difficult to do some predictions, but maybe you can try if you want. Yeah. What do you think?
I can start. I think that authenticity will be one of the most important topics in the next years. Also, thanks to the artificial intelligence, we had a lot of content that make very complicated for us to figure out what's real and what's not. And I think that we had an initial period of real love with artificial intelligence, and we abuse of this, we overuse. And now I see a little bit of inversion of this situation. Now people want to see real picture, real videos, probably not perfect. It's the same things with the videos. I had some customers that makes videos, amazing videos like movies, and sometimes videos with less techniques but more real had a better result. Why it happens? Because if you are talking to your customers, not just to make a show, but you want to, inside your message, there is a real value. It's not important the form, the shape, of your message. It's important the content. I remember when I started doing my first job, people talk about content is the king. It was one of the leitmotiv in the past. Okay, I think that it will be true again. It's very important to not be fake. We live in the era of gurus. We live in the era where people can tell you how to become, I don't know, billionaire in 5 days, just spending 2 hours working and something similar. And people are tired of that. For people, it's complicated to figure out who is real and who is not. I want to talk about connected with personal branding. I want to talk about LinkedIn, for example. LinkedIn was an amazing place till 5 years ago. Now LinkedIn is the 90% commercial messages that tell you that you will become the best author in the world in 3 days. And if I trust all the messages I received, probably I had 1,000 books published. I had, I don't know, 1,000 TEDx speech, and the very interesting things. Absolutely, tons of clients. And the very interesting thing is that these messages is not interesting for me, but it's worse for the platform. It's worse for the social media. One of these guys told me, do you dream to have a TEDx speech? And my answer was, I had twice. So I'm done. I'm okay. So there are so many people, they really don't watch it to you. They just send messages like to do. It's very important to make craft messages dedicated to your public. And it will be, in my opinion, the future to be more selective. Years ago, I accepted tons of requests on LinkedIn. Now, before I accept someone, I want to go and check why we can have a reciprocal interest in be connected. And I think it's just because I receive too much spam, too much messages that are fake. So the trustability, the authenticity, I think will be the key more than now. So don't show that you are living in Dubai or you have Lamborghini. It still stops working.
Yeah, I really like the idea that we are moving from this stage of empty promises to in the more like authentic approach. Yeah, it's really great. Sarah, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I think the role of AI is really interesting right now as we see even artificial influencers come to life, right? Where it's not even a human, it is a brand behind it telling a story, sometimes very effectively. And so I think as people become more aware of this happening, and also as Marco mentioned, we are just inundated with content. And so this idea of sort of like selective perception that we simply cannot pay attention to all of it in our way of coping with the mass amounts of information coming at us on social media is to selectively perceive a very small percent of it. We only actually process it, this little bitty part, right? And so how do we become even more purposeful? And again, thinking about who our tribe is. Like, we don't need, if you appeal to everyone, you appeal to no one, right? And so who is our specific tribe? How can we deliver value just for them and do it in a way that is authentic to us, but also relevant to them and their goals and what they care about, to make sure that we make it through that perceptual screen.
And actually, it's interesting about artificial influencers. Do you think it will still be alive in, I don't know, in 1 to 3 years? Is it the good concept, or it's not such a good idea to build this kind of artificial influencer?
I think it could be a good idea if there is a good story behind. It's the same thing. Everything is about storytelling. If there is a good story behind, why not? I think that a very interesting concept is about our level of attention. Every single year, research are showing us that the threshold of our attention is going down, 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 down. Before we had few seconds, now we have a lot of seconds of attention, and now we have few seconds of attention. So it became very important to be salient and find a way to get that attention, because people now are so busy. We live in crazy lives, running all the day, receiving tons of stimuli, get the attention of a potential customers or a person where you want to talk with, it's complicated. It's more complicated now than 5 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sarah, what do you think about artificial influencers? Is it a working concept in 1 to 3 years?
I think so, but the role that I see them playing is more as like the next level of brand mascots, right? Like you think about the Geico Gecko or the girl for Wendy's who has a great personality, right? Like I see it as a way to bring sort of those brand characters to life and do more extensive brand storytelling than they have in the past. But I don't see them as replacing some of those brand influencers. Like there's lots of research now that shows that it is the micro influencers that really have an impact on engagement with a brand and sales versus those macro influencers like the Kim Kardashians of the world. Instead, right, if you really want to have an impact on this little niche group of people, get someone who's in their group, who's in their tribe, right? And so I don't think that like it's one or the other. I don't think we'll like live in a world where it's all artificial influencers, but I do think they could be a powerful tool in the brand bucket, so to say.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I think that, of course, first we want authenticity, and it's more important than some artificial personal brands. Yeah, and real people will be valuable. Yeah, so thank you so much. It was very, very insightful. And I would like just to show again the profiles of Sarah and Marco. Please connect on LinkedIn if you're interested in their area of expertise. And thank you so much. It was really useful. And I think it's important to discuss this topic of personal branding from this perspective. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. So, and we're finishing our conference. At the end, I would like to recommend to visit our website, ModumUp.com, if you are interested in social selling services, and our YouTube channel for some videos from the previous conferences and podcast series. So also, of course, we'll share the videos with those who registered. We'll share the videos, the slides, and some additional materials for you to explore, like guides on AI for social selling and personal branding, and some other materials. So thank you so much. And my team, my team of 30 plus professionals, ModumUp team, says thank you for participating. And we've prepared this conference all together. And I would like to say a special thank you to my colleague, Kate Albregina from my team. She's a marketing director and project director in our team, and she actually did that. She found all of the speakers, she negotiated it with them, and actually she prepared a lot of information for our conference, and we worked closely together with her. So Kate or Ekaterina, thank you so much. You are rock. Yeah, you're just great. So thank you everyone who's listening to us, and thank you for your time. And I hope it was a really useful and insightful event for all of you. So thank you, and we will finish our stream. And of course, if you have any additional questions, please reach out on LinkedIn. I'm Olga Bondareva. You can find me on LinkedIn. Or we will also send an email. You can reply if you have any questions or comments. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn and other platforms, and with the speakers. Everyone is so open. If you want to ask some additional questions, just do it. So thank you so much, and good luck with your personal branding efforts, activities on LinkedIn and other platforms. Be authentic, be real, and disciplined, because it's important to maintain discipline. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.